Here, I will send you one.
Hold on. We're good.
I send
We're
it.
good. We're good.
Okay.
It's
We good?
coming up.
Oh, it's good. Next link. That should be good. It's going to be on a new link, but people hopefully should be able to find it. But it
Yeah.
looks like we're live.
Thank you, Jesus. All right, folks. That was a lot. And
Yeah, we're
Abdul
good.
Carter is the third overall pick of the NFL draft of 2025. Folks,
Ooh.
please, thank you for bearing
Makes
with us.
sense. Hopefully, people are able to find this link.
I do want to say that I do have the first three picks of the draft correct. Not by the right teams. Connor, break the last 30 minutes down for us. And then Andrew, you're
Yeah,
gonna kind
so
of give your analysis after.
yeah, so we started the draft as expected, of course. Cam Ward at number one, and then the rumors were all there. There were rumors that the Jaguars had the trade set in place if they wanted it already. All this stuff was being rumored, um, but we didn't necessarily know if it was happening. And then we hear the news while we were off a huge trade. The Jacksonville Jaguars trade up to pick two, using their first next year, their second this year, of course, their first this year, and a fourth, getting a fourth back. But a lot to move up and get their guy in Travis Hunter, new head coach who apparently has total control, final say over the GM. So it's his pick, if we're being honest. This is Liam Cohen's pick for Liam Cohen's offense, and that's Travis Hunter. We'll see how they play him offense, defense. The Browns moving down to 5, probably looking at one of those O linemen. We'll see what happens at pick 4, which could be another O lineman to New England. I very well could see us seeing, of course, the Jags then, as expected, took Abdul Carter, the best edge in the draft. And there's room to trade back up if they wanted to
Absolutely.
later in the first. They're apparently big on Jackson Dart.
Yeah.
Couple teams there. You're going to be trying to get ahead of the Steelers to get a QB. That's the next real huge spot we could see going. Obviously, the Saints at 9 are an option, but I think the next big spot right now is getting ahead of the Steelers at 21. And then I think our next two picks are going to end up being Will Campbell and then Membao, back-to-back tackle. But that's just my prediction right
Yeah, and Andrew, we got the Patriots up right now. Who's the pick? What do you think's gonna happen?
Well, the pick is in according to NFL.com. I think at this point it is an offensive tackle. Will Campbell, I would say, will be a New England Patriot.
100% agree.
Yeah, the one thing I'm going to say about these first three picks, though, I look at the Giants. They already had Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, and as much as Abdul Carter's best player available, I don't know if I love the stick and pick here for the Giants because I just think Abdul Carter, you're forcing a quality player out of their edge rushing position, and they could have filled a more pressing need with their pick if they traded down a bit and let somebody else have Abdul Carter.
Absolutely. I mean,
calling Kayvon Thibodeau still a quality player. I don't think they picked up his fifth-year option. He didn't have a great year. I think it could be a trade scenario. I think they could just be fine having him rotate.
Yeah,
I don't think
I
they
think Thibodeau has
Kayvon
upside.
Thibodeau.
I think they could get something for him in a trade.
yeah, I mean, there's so much that could happen. And by the way, folks, for all of you who have found your way here, leave comments in the chat and we will answer them as the draft goes on. I'm currently trying to send out the link to people because obviously the link has changed a couple times and I'm just trying to handle that. And also, if my frame rate on my video looks slow, it's because it is. It's because my computer is trying to handle OBS and it's not doing too well at that right now. But we're chugging through it. I got to close about like 85 tabs. So if you'll excuse me doing that. Now, Connor, let me ask you this. What do you make of the Travis Hunter pick at 2? The Jaguars went up and took him. They got him. What do you expect from Travis Hunter this season? What kind of impact is he going to make on the Jags?
Yeah, I think it'd be really interesting to see kind of what the Jags' plan is regarding him. I think really offensive minded coach who has final say in all their decisions. It seems
I
like
didn't realize you were.
I think right now it's hey, um, that is our wide receiver. You know, we traded away Christian Kirk. We didn't re-sign Calvin Ridley. You know, we have our guy BTJ from last year, but
Mm-hmm.
Travis Hunter, he's that next guy, and I think you still see him get some reps at cornerback because, well, he said he'd retire if he doesn't play both sides of the ball.
So you think he's gonna play both sides of the ball? I agree.
But again, I mean, we'll see his opinion.
I absolutely think he's going to play both sides of the ball. I don't think the
primary
Jaguars.
focus is offense.
Here's the thing: the Jaguars had a need at corner. They also had a need at receiver, and I don't think that they move up and spend all this capital on this Travis Hunter pick if he's not filling two needs in one. And I think that's exactly what he's going to do here in Jacksonville. And I know they're giving up a lot, but I like this trade for the Jaguars just because Travis Hunter being able to fill two of their top needs puts the Jaguars in actually a much better position to win games next year.
I do agree to a certain extent, but I'm just I'm not a massive fan of Travis Hunter. I don't know if he can play both ways for a full season. I think he's an excellent cornerback.
You don't
believe
have to have him be a full-time both season. You can limit his snaps on both sides.
you can, but
expect it.
But I'm not sure. But I'm not sure that does that add enough value? I'm not. I'm not certain.
I mean, you're thinking about the snaps. If you're playing 70% or both sides of the ball, that's still usually. I mean, some teams play defense a lot more than offense, vice versa. That's usually still 40% more snaps than a one-sided player would.
If you look at the Jaguars now, you have Brian Thomas Jr. as the clear wide receiver one, and then you have you have a rotation of guys at corner. Tyson Campbell is still a decent player, so I think when it comes down to it, Travis Hunter, he can slot in as maybe the number 2 or 3 receiver, and then also the number 2 or 3 corner. A little bit of a rotational basis on both sides of the ball, but that still addresses two major needs for this team because I really don't think Jarian Jones was going to be a full-time starter on the defensive side of the ball. I don't think Parker Washington was going to be a full-time starter on the offensive side of the ball. So you have Brian Thomas Jr., Gabe Davis, and Travis Hunter to start in that receiver room. Diami Brown also in the mix. You can make some kind of rotation with that.
I like Travis Hunter a lot, so I don't want to misconstrue what I'm saying. I'm just not sure. I'm not sure what he will bring, quite frankly. I don't know what he's going to bring at an NFL level as a wide receiver. I think he's a solid player, but is he worth number 2 for the Jaguars to trade up that much? You know, that's kind of what I'm handling right now. And I'm not sure. But the Patriots pick is in. The Patriots pick is in. If it's not Will Campbell, I'm going to riot.
5 minutes now.
Here we go. Yes, sir! Yes, sir! You know it! You love it!
Let's go! Oh, yeah. That was an obvious pick.
That's our tackle for the next 18 years, NFL. Get used to it.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
For this draft.
Listen.
Okay, that was the Patriots' top need. So
I have mocked Will Campbell. I have mocked Will Campbell to the Patriots since March. All right? This is the perfect pick for us. Protect Drake May. That is number 1 on the agenda. All right? You cannot have a quarterback be successful in the NFL if he is not protected, if he does not have time to throw. And Connor and I, watching that Texans game at Gillette Stadium last year and watching Demontre Jacobs, the worst tackle in the NFL, attempt to protect Drake May, that was the moment I knew this team needed a tackle. We got one. We deserved it. And Will Campbell hopefully live up to expectations, not be Isaiah Wynn, but be someone great. And I'm really excited. I really love this pick, and I'm thrilled.
My expectations are Brandon Sheriff, an all-pro level guard.
That's
for
fair.
many years, drafted as the tackle, became a guard right out of camp. That's my expectation. He was my number 1 interior offensive lineman in the class. He was my He was up there in terms of players in general. Obviously, I give him a little buff down because of his interior, but he was my 13th player in the class. But he was higher than any other offensive lineman. And if you think he can be a tackle, you can try it. If not,
No,
I'm gonna
Connor,
move back to
I
tackle,
just
and you got
asked
a
what
good
you
player.
think makes him a guard.
I think you see a lot of issues. People say arm size doesn't necessarily matter.
It does. It does.
It still does if you don't have
Yeah.
length to get out to him. You know, we've seen 4 different measurements for his arms. Obviously,
There's something going
pro
on
camp
there.
one's- the pro camp one's going to be the largest because they like to give a little buff.
Yes,
It was
absolutely.
lower at the combine. It's tough for me to really see him as a tackle over a guard. It's no doubt that he's a starting guard.
I mean, listen,
But
I will
the
say
measurements
this.
are there. I think.
We are drafting him as a tackle, but if he ends up being an elite guard, that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, right? I'm okay with that.
No, it would.
But I think he can be a tackle. I believe he can be a tackle. We're drafting him as a tackle. The
Vrabel-
Browns pick is
Vrabel
already
did
in.
this
The
same-
Browns pick is already
Vrabel did
in.
the same exact thing with Peter Skoronsky.
Yep.
Pretty sure Peter Skoronsky.
And I
drafted
mean,
him as a
yeah,
tackle,
at the end
became
of
a
the
guard
day,
immediately.
yeah. At the end of the day, the number one priority for this Patriots team was protecting Dre May. However, it may need to be done because, like, I mean, this O-line had 0 reliable starters last year when David Andrews was hurt because, yeah, maybe one with Mike Onwenu. So that's about it. Every other position, yes, there's been some free agents signed, but wherever Will Campbell slots in, I hope it's at left tackle, but if it's not at left tackle, it's still going to help Drake May in some capacity, and that was the number one priority.
And that is
So-
exactly what I'm talking about. You cannot have a team that cannot run the football and cannot protect the quarterback and be successful offensively. Perfect pick. I mean, I know people will be saying about the Patriots organization and draft. They're doing so. I mean, listen, that's a pick you had to make. It's the right pick for the decision. Now let's talk about the Browns. They traded down. Do they get Shadur here, Connor? We were talking about it. Is this a place for
I think
Shadur
they
Sanders?
I don't. I think it's Membo. I think you get the lineman. They need a lineman. They get who they probably view as the best tackle in the draft. Maybe it's another guy. Maybe it's Banks. Maybe it's Simmons. There's
Yep.
a few. I think you take the tackle.
I don't know about
Yeah.
that. I think quarterback is their biggest need. I mean, a
But I don't
tackle
think
would
Shadur's
certainly.
the guy for them. I don't think Shadur's a
For
Browns
them,
guy.
especially, I don't think he wants to be a Brown.
No, he
I
doesn't.
think one underrated guy that we can talk about also is Mason Graham. He is my number 1 player in the draft. D tackle, not necessarily prime position. He is still, I think, the whole best player in this entire draft. Brings a lot. And him in the middle with Myles Garrett on the outside could be deadly. I just think they may view that need at offensive tackle more.
Yeah, I mean,
So
for
I
me,
would guess Membo right now.
for me,
All right.
here,
I guess.
Go ahead, Andrew. Go ahead.
Do you think there's any chance that they could take Tet McMillan here? I know it's a little bit early,
No.
but they
No,
could
they're
use
not
a
taking
receiver.
I don't see them valuing wide receiver that much because it wasn't an issue last year.
I'll say
Right,
this:
JG
looking
kind
at
of
Kevin
exploded.
Stefanski, he looks very calm. I don't know what that means. Does that mean he loves the pick? Does it mean he hates the pick? I don't know.
I also think there's a few guys that might not view Pat McMillan as wide receiver 1. I don't have a first round grade on him. Obviously,
That's
I guess
interesting.
Travis
I
Hunter
think-
was wide receiver 1. But
All right,
there's
here
a
we
few
go.
guys I think I'm willing to let Tet just kind of fall.
Here we go. Wow, Mason Graham. Little bit of a
Mason Graham,
surprise.
a Cleveland Brown.
He's fantastic player.
He's
Brings
well,
a
Connor.
lot.
You
And the
remember we were
Raiders
watching
took him.
film on him. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. You know, they did add Joe Tryon. Not a fan as a Bucks fan, but he is someone on the outside. You have Shelby Harris inside, and having Graham next to him, Malik Collins, obviously Myles Garrett, and Isaiah McGuire there too. That's a formidable defensive line. This is a
Yeah.
team that will pride themselves on defense.
Yeah, I mean they just as you were talking about, they did just sign Malik Collins, but he's been kind of a rotational player. So I think they form some kind of rotation between Collins, Shelby Harris, and Mason Graham on the inside here. I don't think D line was their biggest need necessarily, but it still was a need in this draft. And Mason Graham, as you were saying, Connor, one of the best players available. You got to go to some extent best player available this early in the draft. So I do like this pick for the Browns. Yes, I could
here's what's
some alternatives, but
here's what's
it
scary
worked.
for me. If you're in the NFC North or AFC North, Myles Garrett and Mason Graham on the same defensive line, that is not going to be fun for any team. I mean, listen, we know Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, but with that defensive line, that is going to be tough to count. I don't care who you are.
I think the Ravens need to take an O lineman with
I
their
think
first round pick.
they have to go O-line. They have to. They have to.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of the counter to that Mason Graham pick for the Browns. I mean, yeah, who knows who the Browns quarterback is going to be, but if they can snipe someone in the later rounds, like even this, I think they have 2 early second rounders. They could parlay that into a late first and
hear me
get
out
their
here.
quarterback.
33 and 36 would easily get you ahead of 21. You could have Shador
Yes.
at 20, at 19. I know the Bucks are heavily rumored to want to be trading out.
Or you go for Jackson Dart, which might be the move for the Browns, given that
It could
Shador
be.
doesn't want to be
We'll
there.
see what happens. Right now, I still think Jackson Dart goes 9. I don't know. Something's inkling to me. It really feels like it's over for Derek Carr. And I think they like
I
Jackson Dart
100%
better.
agree. I mean, Connor, when you and I watched Jackson Dart play, when we watched him throw the ball, he has a fantastic arm, right? I mean, there's no question about his arm talent. And I think the Saints have a unique ability. They have time to develop Dart. They're not in a win now mode. So Dart would be a guy for them. Go ahead.
That's my thing. I question his decision making a little bit because I feel like sometimes he will hang around too long and then just kind of panic. Where when you compare it to like Cam Ward per se, he can hang around a while and still find the right play. So I just think his decision making under
I don't
pressure
think Dart is a day one starter, but I don't think the Saints need him to be a day one starter.
Definitely not.
No, I
He
think
can
the
walk
pick
in
is in.
after a year or in week
The
10.
pick is in for the Raiders, which I think is really interesting because they have been heavily linked to Ashton Jenkins.
It's got to be, right? If they're going right away.
The Bears have tried everything in their book to trade up for Genty.
But they don't need to.
They failed trading up to 5. Obviously, the Jaguars were not. Maybe the Browns didn't want to fall farther.
Okay.
They couldn't get up to 4. Patriots were set on Campbell. Is it Genty here? Or
I think it is. I think it is.
I don't know. I see a world where it could be Membu. That's, I think, the one possible alternative. The Raiders do still need some offensive line help. I mean, if I was in charge of the Raiders, I would just say fuck it and go Will Johnson because of how badly they need corners. But I don't see that being the pick.
But I think they could have traded
I
back.
think
They could have
Or
traded
Genty.
back and gotten Johnson.
Our pick is
Yeah, so it's really it comes down. Membu would probably be gone.
For me, it's
if the
Genty.
depth
For
has
me,
been-
it's Genty. I think it is.
It's Genty. Is that the better pick? I'm not sure.
As much as Genty's a special player, I just don't know if I love
All right, here we go.
taking
You
over
saw the
Membu.
failure of Zamir White last year when he was supposed to be poised.
Sure.
I think that Brady.
There it
system
is.
loves to run
Ashton Genty. Boom. Boom.
I don't hate it. I don't
Connor,
hate it.
if I could pull, the 1 year where my mock draft is actually doing really, really well is the one. Connor, did you do this on purpose? Did you schedule this whole thing just so my mock draft couldn't be up there?
I really wanted to screw your mock draft.
You just wanted to screw with my mock draft, didn't you? Folks,
Oh,
all right, let me just
and have it not on the screen.
Of the first 6 picks, I had the player going correctly in 5 of those.
No, you
Now,
didn't.
not necessarily to the same team, obviously, because I didn't have the trade. But I did have Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Carter, Campbell, and then I had McMillan instead of who.
And a lot of people did have Mason Graham.
Yeah.
So I
That's
think
some of
the
the easier
draft
expectations.
order so far has been predictable. It's just that Jaguars trade blew everyone's mind.
Well, yes. I mean,
Yeah.
had to. Jets
I
is
had
the
Mason
guy.
Graham going 5.
Jet,
Too. I had it like
I love this
6
pick
in
for the
order, so
Raiders.
five.
I love this pick for the Raiders.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
Pete
I
Carroll
think
is playing his Marshawn Lynch football. Like they're rough and
Your
tough.
problem at tackle is you just extend Colton Miller. That's it.
Yeah.
The big thing you drafted a tackle for
Yeah.
is to replace Colton Miller. Just extend him. Be done with it.
I mean, they're not going to win. They don't have a quarterback, so they're not winning now, anyways. Right? I love the pick though.
the thing is,
I think it's really good.
could slot in at guard
Sorry.
because Membu could slot in at guard, and I just don't trust Jordan Meredith there. But or at right tackle with DJ Glaze. Either way, there was a need for an offensive lineman that I think is a little bit bigger than their need for a running back. But nonetheless, I don't hate this pick for the Raiders. I just think and I don't think they're going to regret it by any means. But I do think it's not an obvious pick. I think there were other ways they could have potentially gone.
I mean, to me,
And now I
Genty's
think-
stellar, and I don't think they were ever going to pass up on someone like him, especially with what he did. And I get that they have other
I think the
needs.
massive
I get that they have other needs, but the Raiders have so many needs. Like they have cornerback needs. They have
There
quarterback
are
needs.
so
So
many.
like they have so many needs. It's not going to be solved in one pick, right? So they might
I
as
think the
well
massive
take.
expectation at this point now is Member's got to be 7, right?
And that's who I had.
I
By the
don't
way,
know about
guess who had Membo going to the Jets?
99% of people.
All right. Well, you know what?
See,
You know what? Well,
Did you have Cat, Andrew? Did you have Cat?
I have McMillan here for the Jets.
I could see that too. Getting
Yeah, because-
Fields a wide receiver. I don't necessarily know if we think Fields needs a wide receiver, but it's definitely a possibility.
Well, they
I
have
would
Garrett
say-
Wilson, but without Rodgers, Alan Lazard is not a valid wide receiver 2 by any means. So the
He's
right
not.
move for the Jets here, in my opinion, it's got to be either McMillan, or if they want to go tight end, they could go Tyler Warren as well. I've seen that.
I think it means
Be
you
linked a
can
lot.
use the wide receivers Rodgers refused to throw to because his buddies were there. Malachi Corley was so highly rated last year, 2nd-round pick. He's awesome.
He's
I
not a
don't know
number
if
2.
out of
He's a
the
number
team.
3. Use him as a 3.
Either
I don't
way,
even know if
it's
he's
one of
a
those
3.
things where it's like, hey, Rodgers wanted to throw to his buddies instead of this rookie that we drafted high. Now we can get someone who actually throw to the second-year player who got refused to play because of Rodgers' grip on this team of getting whatever he wanted. They're adding younger guys. Stone Smart. They drafted. You can really set up. I mean, Chuma Okorafor. You as Patriots fans know him well. He's their starting right tackle right now. And you can set up a really line for the next 6 years, probably.
I like the Jets building the trenches. I think that's a good. I also think it's a move that they're like a new coach would want, like a new defensive coach. Like he wants to control the football. He wants to protect the ball. Aaron
Yeah,
Glenn
and you can finally unleash Brees Hall. Once again, one of those other things that Aaron Rodgers just
never did.
destroys having as a run game. And getting the linemen allow you to be a run-first team again. Braylon Allen had a great year, too. You just run both of them back to what you wanted them to be.
Everyone,
I mean,
please
you could do that.
ask questions in the chat. I am actively reading it, but I only see myself talking. So we will answer all your questions if you have them. Please ask questions, like the stream, share the stream, watch the stream, have fun with the stream. I know it doesn't look pretty, but listen, folks, this is as good as I can do on, short notice. All right. I was going to prepare a big thank you to Connor for running the stream this year, but I don't think I have to this year. So Connor, next year you got to do double for me. You got to do double for us for number 7. But what a fun draft we've had. Honestly, I really like the pick so far. I feel like personally, I don't see a team that's made a pick that I wouldn't have made in that position. I think they've all made good picks for their team needs. So personally, all right, we have a question, and I'm going to throw this one to you, Connor, from Matthew in the chat. All right, as a Ravens fan, who should he expect the Ravens to draft this year? Who would you, if you were the Ravens GM, who would you draft and why?
But I think we all had kind of different answers to this in each of our mocks. I had them getting another edge rusher. I had them getting Ezeruku out of Boston College, just another sack guy to get in there. Of course, had an amazing season, led the ACC in sacks. Andrew had them go offensive lineman, get a guard there in Donovan Jackson,
Yep.
and of course Michael had him get Jade
Yeah.
Barron, who I don't
And I
think
still
lost,
stand by that.
but getting them a cornerback. I think there aren't too many holes for this team to
No.
fill. I think you just got to put it together. I, for one, thought maybe their biggest need, and also one they have liked adding depth in the past, is edge rusher. Because yes, Kyle Van Noy had a good year.
But he's also
It's also 34-year-old.
it's also Kyle Van Noy.
Yeah,
I like that pick.
I would not hate an edge pick for them. I think maybe Izaraiku out of BC or Mike Green could be options. Then to that first round.
Green sounds
I
like
mean-
a Baltimore character guy.
Yeah, true. I mean,
I will say
I know
this.
you have all.
I will say this about Baltimore. You know, secondary has been something that they've had to put more focus on. So I think that safety or cornerback, like we could be looking at one of those picks. There are not a lot of holes, but I do feel like there are some places where they need to add depth. And they need to add a solid player. And what I will say along with that is if we take a look at Mason Grimm, who was just drafted to the Browns, as a Ravens fan, are you maybe a little more cognizant of saying, hey, to counter that, do we draft a guard? Do we draft someone on the offensive line to protect that? Is that
So I think
Andrew, is
that
that something that you are thinking about? If you were a GM, is that something you're thinking about while the draft is going on? You see a team in your division make a move. Does that change what you're going to do? Do you counter that move?
I'm not unhappy.
I don't
with
think
the
it
guards.
necessarily changes what I do entirely, but I'm definitely looking at that like, whoa, the Browns just got Mason Graham. If I already have offensive linemen on my board, maybe it makes me more inclined to take him, but I'm not going to go out of my way to completely change my board. So I think it really comes down to who's available when it comes to the Ravens pick. I think they will lean O-line over edge rusher if the better player is available there, but if there's a really good edge staring them in the face, I think they could still take one.
Now, the
Jets
Panthers are
were
on the clock.
expected.
I just want to change gears. So the Panthers are on the clock.
Do you
And-
want to talk about the Jets pick, which we didn't actually?
Yeah, we got to discuss the
Member.
Membu
Wait, did the
pick
Jets
here.
pick?
It's member.
Yeah, they
Did
picked
I miss
Membu.
that? How did I miss? I didn't pick
You
so
missed
quick.
it.
Talk
Armand
about Membu.
Membu.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I
Armand
completely
Membu.
missed that.
AFC East.
Is a New York
two
Jet.
linemen immediately. Looking to stock up on the trenches in that division. I think Membu was the second best tackle in the draft. Will Campbell was my one, but I think he's the second best
Membu's
tackle
good,
in the
man. He's a good player.
Um,
And I was
he's a
talking
loser.
I was talking to one of my buddies who is a Jets fan before the draft, and I told him, I said, like, you guys getting a good tackle like Membu would be absolutely huge for your team. And just being able to build up in that way, I think is fantastic. So the pick for the Panthers is in. Andrew, quick thoughts on Membu.
Yeah, I mean, my roommate's a Jets fan actually, and we did our mock draft on my radio show here at Ithaca College, Cities of Champions, and he also had the Jets taking Armand Membu because, I mean, what he was telling me about, the O-line is the number one problem with this Jets team, and as much as Aaron Rodgers may have stunk last year,
The offensive line
quarterback.
did him no help.
with that offensive line.
Yeah.
And Justin Fields needs a half-decent offensive line if he is going to even be up to the standard of what he was in Pittsburgh the few games he started last year.
And by
So,
the way, Pittsburgh did not have a good
probably-
offensive line with him. Now, let me
yeah,
say
this is
this.
probably they still have to get a receiver, though.
Panthers pick is in, which is a bit surprising. They were one of the teams heavily rumored to look into trading down.
I thought they
Not
would
as many
trade
trades
back.
as we expected.
I thought they would
Not as
trade
many
back.
trades as we expected. Obviously, one.
See,
huge
I
one
had
could change a
Genty
lot of
falling to
stuff.
Carolina.
You know who I like to Carolina? And I know I mocked this, so I guess obviously I like it. But I liked them, and I had them trading back. But I liked Will Warren going to them. And let me explain why.
Will Johnson, you mean?
No.
Johnson.
No. The tight end.
Tyler
man.
Warren.
Tyler Warren.
Tyler Warren.
Oh.
Will Warren's the
Not the Yankee
Yankees
pitcher, Will Warren.
Sorry, Tyler Warren. So the reason why I had Tyler Warren going to the Panthers,
Oh my god.
I think of the Panthers as a team that's developing, right? They're improving. And if I'm a young quarterback like Bryce Young, we've seen a lot of success between quarterback tight end relationships, especially for young quarterbacks finding that safety blanket. And
a reminder, they picked like what most people consider the best tight end on the board last year.
See,
In Japavion.
yeah, the thing is,
because of medical issues, but he's going to be fully healthy for the start of the season.
That's true.
I
You
also
make a
don't
good
think
point.
Tyler Warren. I have a 3rd round grade on Tyler Warren. He is a scheme demon. He is a screen demon in that scheme at PSU. He's not a good tight end.
I don't know about that. I think he's a good
Heard it there
pass
first.
catcher. Is he a good blocker? I don't know. All I know is the Panthers. I mean, edge is a consideration here, but I don't think there's an edge worth taking here. The next biggest need is definitely whether it's receiver or tight end, a pass catcher. My thing is, I don't think every team has the same consensus on who the best pass catcher in this draft class
Oh, for
is.
sure.
So it could be that McMillan is the guy that the Panthers are looking at as the best pass catcher. I mean, probably not Matthew Golden, but it could be him for all we know. It could be Colston Loveland for all we know. But I think this really comes down to McMillan.
That's my.
What'd you say?
personal-
Yeah, it
I'm a
could
big
definitely
fan
be
of
McMillan.
Bucher.
I mean,
that's my
Yeah,
best pass
McMillan
catcher.
would make sense
The
for this
question is,
pick.
how much faith? Connor, you obviously watch a decent amount of the Panthers games. You're a Bucks fan. How do you see what is your opinion on Bryce Young? Do you believe in him? What do you think of him?
It's hard to not believe him. I really think he showed you something special, and he also the way he took it on the chin, getting benched last year.
Yeah.
He used it as fuel.
Yeah.
He didn't complain, didn't ask out, and he worked on
Good,
himself.
good
and
locker
he
room
learned how to
presence.
work in that offense. They have
And they
Chuba
have
Hubbard
nothing.
is there. Brooks hopefully will be back. I mean, how many injuries can that guy have?
Yeah,
That was
you have to wonder.
big pick last year. Your second.
Hubbard's
round pick
still your
last
guy
year.
at running back.
Yes, of course. But Brooks, I think you're really expecting to bring a catching something else in because he was out all of last year. ACL tear into what was it? MCL tear,
To
whatever.
be
it
fair,
was.
you also bring in Rico Dowdle in free agency. So
who had an amazing year for the Cowboys. And you get off Miles Sanders, obviously. Rico Dowdle, a good, really good pass catcher.
yeah,
I know Brooks
5
is out to
miles.
start the year. So I think you have a good placement to run that run game. You got three-headed monster there if Brooks is healthy. And yeah, Tet could be your wide receiver 1. Obviously, Bryce Young and Thielen had a great connection. Leggett had some good games. You saw a bit that you liked out of David Moore.
Adam Thielen is 34 years old though, so you can't
Yeah, of course.
long term rely on him as a number 1 receiver. So
do
I think
believe they're
Millen would be.
What are you talking about, Andrew? Adam Thielen is absolutely a long-term wide receiver. He plans on winning a Super Bowl with this team.
Oh,
that's
sure.
back-to-back first-round picks or third-round picks on tight ends and Tremble Sanders. I think you've signed Taylor Moton a bit ago, so your line is feeling, or you re-signed Taylor.
All right.
Moton, extended him.
Let's
So your
get
line
This
to the
feels like
pick right now.
I think edge is a bit bigger concern, but I won't be mad if it's a pass catcher. That's not the
edge
right.
would be a reach here. That's all I gotta say.
I think Jalon Walker is considered by many.
McMillan! U of A! U of A! Let's go!
Ooh. All right, I called this one.
All right, Andrew, take the floor. You had the pick. Go run with it.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't call it in my original mock draft because I had Genty falling, but I called it just now.
Just
so
now.
I-
Okay,
I'll
that's
take that.
good enough. Good enough for me.
Yeah, good enough for me as well because my mock draft is suffering right now. But at the end of the day, yeah, as we were talking about, Jalen Walker, I think would have been a reach here. I actually view him more as an inside linebacker than an edge rusher. He's not exactly a sack getter. So
He didn't get
I think
snaps
that
as a
leaves
linebacker.
receiver, tight end as Carolina's biggest priorities with this pick. And McMillan had an unbelievable season for Arizona last year. The
Yes,
best wide receiver outside of maybe Travis Hunter last year. I think him and Hunter were really, in terms of receiver solely, 1 and 2, like 1A, 1B even, in all of college football last year. So I think this is a great pick for the Panthers. I don't know if they could have done much better unless Genty fell how I predicted it, but realistically, I was in denial that the Raiders were ever really going to let him fall. So at the end of the day, this is a great pick for the Panthers. I will also say, in fantasy football, I love McMillan as probably one of the top receivers top rookie receivers to go off the board in fantasy.
I mean, maybe now, Connor, I will say this: I do have concerns with McMillan. There's parts of his game I don't love. I mean, he is not the most polished of talents. And do you have any concerns about that at the next level?
He can't get separation.
Yeah, well, that's
in college he couldn't get separation. Fantastic contested catch, whatever. If he can't get separation at the NFL level, NFL cornerbacks are better than college cornerbacks
by a lot.
And he doesn't create enough separation, I think, immediately to make an impact. I think
that's my concern with him as well.
Become a good player with good coaching. I just think it really worries me when a wide receiver can't get separation. It's something we saw a lot last year.
Yet still, he made so many contested catches last year.
But it's one thing to make,
and you could say the same thing for Keon Coleman, a guy who can't get separation.
Or
love him for the Bills.
Quentin Johnson.
No, I don't think they loved him either.
A guy who couldn't.
I mean, I look at the production in Big 12 play.
It's over and over again. These big contested catch monsters,
and that's why I said it today. I said it earlier today to my friends. I was like, I like McMillan. I mean, listen, I'm a U of A guy, but there's a little N'Keal Harry in McMillan, and that's what concerns me.
N'Keal Harry wasn't necessarily that kind of guy. I would say it's more, as you said, Quentin Johnson. As I said, Keon Coleman. Just wow, this guy's a monster, contested catch everything.
I mean, to be fair, Johnson took a step up in his second year, so I think in the long term, I like the outlook.
2 years ago. Yeah,
I don't know.
I do want to say the Saints pick is already in. Now they're not going to announce it for a little bit, but they're already in, which means
that's fast.
I feel like it might be dark. It just might be.
This is what I want.
It's dart or a line. I think there's no other option. They take their favorite.
I don't know about that. I see a few possibilities here because first of all, do we believe the Jackson Dart smoke? Do we believe that they are Dart over Shedeur all day long? And second of all,
okay, then QB or offensive line.
I think corner is a need that the Saints could look at here.
I mean,
I know Will Johnson.
I don't think corners.
They've gotten rid of Lattimore and Adebo in the same year.
I think you had a fantastic year for the Cookie Monster, Alontae Taylor, and Kool-Aid McKinstry.
Exactly. Drafted him last year.
Right?
I mean, you still need one more.
But you don't need to spend a first round
necessary when you lost Ryan Ramczyk, who was your tackle for
when your quarterback
so many years.
Gets injured and stinks.
Yeah. Or when you have no idea if
I'd say quarterback
is Derek Carr even going to play again? I think that's out in the air. Is he even going to play?
I don't think so. I don't. Derek Carr is not an NFL star.
No.
The rumors are Jackson Dart. I'm not taking Jackson Dart here. I'm going offensive lineman. If it was my pick, it'd be Josh Simmons. I know they have been linked slightly to Calvin Banks.
Josh Simmons is crazy.
I will say this. I wouldn't mind them taking a lineman.
He's the best tackle in the draft.
I wouldn't mind them taking a lineman this year and drafting a quarterback next season. I don't.
Or take quarterback round 2.
They could do that as well. Especially
if quarterbacks are going to be falling. If they don't want to take Jackson Dart this early, that means Dart is going to fall a little further, and there's going to be more flexibility for a good quality quarterback to fall to day 2. At the same time, you might want to nip this in the bud right now with Derek Carr just not being an NFL.
And the pick was in quickly.
You're not expecting Dart to go at least until 21. Any quarterback to go at least until at this. Obviously, trade up's going to happen.
All right,
but
here we go.
You can still trade back in and get your guy here, and trade back in and get a QB. Like Jackson Dart, are the Steelers linked to him?
Kelvin Banks Jr. That's a good pick.
And that sets you up for the future. Obviously, you have to move Penning out of the guard spot.
That's a really solid pick.
I don't think Trevor Penning necessarily has a spot on this team with Kelvin Banks Jr. coming in.
I mean, Penning was their starting guard last year. He's probably going to stay that. But you
I
have
mean, yeah,
Karius,
it's him or
Iwata,
Raiders who they say.
and Calvin Banks. Those two guys are your starting tackles. They're both young, both on rookie
Yes.
contracts. It's a good foundation for a team that desperately, even though I say I as a Bucks fan, I hope they don't. That desperately needs to go into rebuild and get out of this cap
100%.
hell they
Connor,
put
we
themselves
talk
in
about
for
it
7
every
years.
we talk about it every year with the Saints team. They do the same thing with Mickey
As
Loomis
a
as the
Bucks
GM.
fan,
Every
please keep pushing the money down.
every year, here's the problem with the Saints. Every year
You're
for
never
the
gonna
past
make a
10
winner.
years, it's
Yeah.
been the same
They're in
thing,
purgatory.
right? Because what happens is they have so many older players on massive contracts. And so what they do every year is to Cameron Jordan, to Demario Davis, they restructure that money so that they can field a team, but then they push that money down the road, so they end up not being able to improve their teams.
They're not going to be good.
No, they're gonna be worse,
No,
but
you
they can't
fully
do anything
take.
about it. They have to go into a full rebuild.
Eat that Carr money.
Yeah, they do.
Eat that
And
Taysom Hill
that
money.
starts with getting rid of Carr.
Just
Eat
take
that Ryan Ramchick money and
yes.
eat it all. And don't push him down. Eat it all
Let-
this year.
and
You
by the
still
way-
have to
by the
pay
way, let me just
Derek
say
Carr
this.
$50
Let me
million
just
for
say
like 4
this.
years.
Like in golf, sometimes you just need to take your medicine and just punch out, and just live to play another day. Like live to hit another shot. That's what the Saints need to do. Just say we effed up. We went all in for Drew Brees all those years, and like let's just take a moment and just like say okay. We did that.
I think I
It
would
didn't
have either
work.
gone
Reset.
quarterback here or traded him.
Reset.
I mean, the Saints could have just, yeah. Like,
and they didn't do that for so many years,
don't-
and that's why they're here.
I don't hate the Banks pick because obviously Ramchick retiring opens up that need for the offensive line, but at the same time, I think quarterback would have been the better pick all the way.
They can get a quarterback this year or next year. I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about it. I personally,
You're more worried about the direction of the Saints as a whole, is what I'm hearing.
and by the way, if they draft a quarterback this year, hypothetically in the first round, they're gonna have to pay him a lot more money that they don't really have, right? Whereas if they draft a quarterback in the second round, right, or next year, they're gonna have more money, more freedom to kind of maneuver that contract around. So this isn't just about, right? Very infrequently in the NFL do we talk about rookie contracts making a big difference. But for a quarterback like Dart, maybe that one extra, I mean, that could be a big difference in the Saints, 5-year, 10-year plan in terms of the way their
The better tight end.
cap schedule is going.
The better tight end, I will say.
Who?
Have you not seen the pick yet, Michael?
No. So they picked
It's
Loveland?
Colson Loveland. The much better tight end. Not
I disagree that Loveland's I mean, maybe Loveland's the more well-rounded tight end. But Tyler Warren,
I will say this, Loveland is the much more well-rounded tight end.
yeah, he's definitely more well-rounded. But if you just want a big receiver, I have no issue with taking Tyler Warren. Then again, I don't think. I mean, yes, you have all the top 3 linemen off the board. I don't know if tight end is the best pick for the Bears here.
Olsen?
I'd wonder maybe if you go for Amarian Hampton. Because he's been.
I've seen the pick already, but I guess you guys have not.
He's been roomed.
But it was Loveland.
It was Loveland. Okay, so Colson Loveland will be a Chicago Bear. Yeah, I don't love that personally. I think it's
this
a
is
little.
the first pick. I will say this. All right, to me, I look at the Bears and I say to myself, what makes this team right? Okay, you got your new head coach. You got Ben Johnson, who I really like. I think he's going to be good. Right? Caleb Williams is going to take a step forward in year 2. Great. What can you do to make this team surround Caleb Williams' talent and make this team better for a playoff run? Does Loveland move the needle enough for me as where you could pick another player, maybe an offensive lineman, maybe someone else on the defensive side? To me, it does not. I like Loveland as a player. I like a well-rounded tight end. But you already have Kmet. Do you really need him? That's my question.
I think the comparison's so obvious here.
Yeah.
This is Sam Laporta to whoever's Michael Mayer. Whoever wants that Michael Mayer that is Tyler Warren, You got your Sam Laporta with the coach that made Sam Laporta work.
Yeah, my thing is Cole
If you
Kmet
still,
is already a solid starter at the position. I think, this is the unfortunate thing for the Bears, and this is why maybe I would have considered a trade down once you saw the Saints pick. They, in my mind, kind of got screwed because if I'm the Bears sitting there at 10, I'm thinking, okay, it's time to take an offensive lineman. Go Membu, go Kelvin Banks Jr., something like that. But then both of them go off the board at 7 and 9, and then the Bears are. It almost feels like they're forcing this pick,
Yeah.
I
and
disagree completely. What
it,
did
it just feels forced because I
Cole
don't think
Kmet did
Loveland
not?
is that big an upgrade over Komet.
Cole Kmet gave you nothing last year.
Yeah, but that was
Cole
more
Kmet
due to
did not
scheming.
give you
That's
it.
because he was
He can't run
behind
routes. He
or
can't catch the
Allen
ball.
Odunze. I mean,
Yes,
there were other
because
guys
he
there.
has
He can
trouble
catch
running routes
touchdowns.
and has trouble catching the ball. He's
I
closer
like.
to the 30th best tight end to a average starter, a 15th best. Probably closer to 40th.
No, Komet was not.
You get a
Komet was probably. I would argue. I
Yeah.
mean,
he's an
He
inline
was
blocker.
20th.
He's an inline blocker.
he.
You bring him in for blocking snaps, and that's all you got for him. That's all he brings you, and that's fine. Teams need blocking tight ends, but he's a blocker.
I don't think he's just a blocker. I mean, he's a fairly decent
Well,
receiving tight end. I wouldn't say
It
he's.
is.
It's not.
I don't know that Colston Loveland is a receiver first. I think he also is probably to
That's
me
also a
a
good
blocking.
point as
I mean,
well.
that's Ben
So
Johnson's
maybe you
scheme.
take
You know,
Warren for a receiver first.
a lot of two tight ends block. Warren's not a receiver. Warren is a scheme fit screen catcher.
This is true. It's also true. I mean,
I mean, is the Penn State system
When does he
really
cut a
that
pass
OP
down the
that they
field?
can make Tyler Warren a 1,200-yard
Is the
player
Penn
all
State
on their
system
own?
run 3 yards down the field and run up the seam? Yes, that's exactly what it was.
this is true. I mean, I don't know.
Exactly what it was.
I'm not. Listen, I don't love the Loveland pick. Not because I don't love him as a player.
And they run a ton. They run a ton of two tight ends. Ben
That's
Johnson runs a
true.
ton of two
That's
tight
true.
ends.
That's true. Maybe it will work out. Maybe
You have
are
one
right.
blocker, one receiving threat, just as the Lions did.
Maybe
Well,
you're
one
right.
blocker slash
49ers
receiving
pick
threat and one
is
pure
in.
blocker.
By the way, so we're at pick 11. We've gone through 10 picks in just over an hour.
And okay, we'll go on to the Niners.
Yep. Where do the Niners go?
Niners have been heavily rumored that Walter Nolan could be high for him. Some guys have fallen.
It would be high, but I don't hate it.
Just Delon Walker.
Yeah, I think D-line is among their top needs. I would like Jalen Walker, but here's my thing when it comes to Jalen Walker. If I'm the Niners, I don't know if I play him on the edge. Like I was saying earlier, I maybe take Jalen Walker here and play him on the inside.
Yeah, you know what the Eagles needed last year? To play Nolan Smith on the inside. You know what the Cowboys needed for the past 5 years? To play Micah Parsons on the inside.
I agree. I mean, if he's an edge rusher, he's an edge rusher. That's that.
He's literally Nolan Smith, using the same way at the same school. Nolan Smith was fucking fantastic last year. A big reason they won the Super Bowl. You use Jalen Walker in that way.
So you think that the Niners will be drafting an edge?
I expect them to draft Walter Nolan because that's what they have been linked to every step through the draft process. If I was them, I think a lot of good edge. Your choice of your second favorite edge in the draft, when many thought 2, possibly 3. There was a lot of different rumors regarding a few guys would have been off first or not.
Yeah. I did have them taking Mason Graham in a trade up. So I did have them going D-line later, or I guess
That would not have stopped. I think D-line still could be in play here. And then I know I keep bringing him up because I am higher on him, I'd say, than the consensus. But Will Johnson would not be an awful pick here, because I do think corner
I'm also
is
super high on Will Johnson.
I agree. I think Will Johnson's absolutely a first round talent. I could definitely.
And
see
I
him.
think
Will
he could be
Johnson's my
picked
fifth
here
on the-
because
my fifth on my big board.
the Niners
I don't
lost
feel
Charvarius
confident.
Ward.
It's true. Not that he was that great,
So-
but
Yeah, but their corners right now, their starting corners: Trey Brown, Renardo Green, Demador Lennar. I think
What's wrong
that's
with that?
passable, but
what's wrong with
Ireland.
that? That's a Super Bowl winning
Average.
quarterback
It's
room.
average.
it doesn't inspire me, and I think you still need a true number one in that corner room that could go up against
I think
big
it's
name
tough.
receivers.
I think it's tough if you're the Niners in a pretty win now mode to go after a guy who probably can't start the season. I think that's a tough choice for me. I love Will Johnson. He's my fifth best player in the draft. I don't know if that's where they go.
It
Yeah,
also,
then again, yeah,
I mean,
you could go Walker, and you could go
I
with
feel like they want to improve
Nolan.
their pass rush. I mean, they have to, because Nick Bosa alone just is not cutting it. It gives you. I mean, you're able to scheme
Yeah.
around him. So
you do need someone across from Bosa for sure, but I just think there are bigger needs on the defense than that.
But can you pass up a talent like?
But I think that brings you back to defensive tackle. They have nothing. I feel like compared to what. They
Yeah,
have
that's
at
that's
defensive
more
line.
that's what I look at most, because what your best defensive tackle is Jordan Elliott. Your other defensive tackle currently on the top of the depth chart is Evan Anderson. I don't even know who that is. So I that just shows that there's a problem.
Is it too high for Walter Nolan? They've been linked to him, but they were really heavy trade down candidate? Would it be too high to take?
I wouldn't say it's too high, because the thing about Walter Nolan is, I mean, you guys are talking about an edge player. Walter Nolan, he plays the interior, but he can affect the pass rush for sure. He's a versatile D lineman. He can do a little bit of both. He can stop the run, he can stop the pass. I think that versatility is a valuable skill that could cause him to be picked here. I think it's the same thing with Jalen Walker, except edge / linebacker. He can do a little bit of both run stopping and pass rushing.
We shall see.
So-
I think the pick is coming up. I think
One of those two players would make a lot of sense here.
All right, I think Goodell is walking to the stage. Nope. Just Schefter.
Almost.
Shefty,
Yeah,
what
we're-
is he
we're
wearing?
almost there.
He's got a button-down shirt with a tie, underneath a hoodie, underneath a blazer. I don't know who dressed him, but
Now, what I want to ask you guys, we're talking a lot about Nolan and we're talking a lot about Jalen Walker. If they don't pick one of those guys, is it the wrong move, or are there other people here that you think would be
I guess
good
I would
picks?
have to see. Right? Like, I guess I would have to see the pick.
Yeah, that's a good point. Have to see the pick. I mean, there's still multiple guys that I have top 10 on my board that haven't gone yet. I don't know if those guys will go that high. I'll see them high on positions that are undervalued. Malachi Stokes and Jihad Campbell. That probably won't go that high because of positions, but there are a few guys there that I think.
I would not hate Jihad Campbell here.
I wouldn't either.
I mean,
it just feels high for a
great linebacker.
linebacker to go. Who knows?
Because you have Fred Warner. You need someone next to him.
Is
you
Dre
could- you
Greenlaw
could
still
look
with
at
the team?
Offensive line.
Greg Greenlaw is not with the team.
No.
That's
Greenlaw
why
was signed
that
by the
need for a
All right,
linebacker
the
opens up. You need to-
49ers pick is being announced.
No Goodell. Oh,
No, it is Goodell announcing it.
I thought the military.
I thought they were
squad
going to
was
announce it too. I was like, all right, let them announce
There's
it.
a back to Goodell.
Back to you, Roger. Wow.
USA plus booze.
All right. Michael Williams.
Mikael Williams, okay, yeah. I don't know about this one. Yes, like, it is an edge rusher, and I think he's played some D line. But and I know he's a Georgia guy, but I don't think the individual production was to the level of some other edge rushers in this class, and that concerns me a little bit.
Connor, your
Yeah, I mean
thoughts?
that's a fantastic Georgia D line, and I think you probably expected more out of a guy that you'd be drafting here at 11. He was my fourth best, still on first round grade, and I'm the fourth best edge rusher in the class to me.
For
just ahead
context
of
here, who do you have
Jordan.
above him?
Yeah, of course. I don't know here. He is another guy, like Andrew was mentioning with Nolan, but in the other way, he has seen some shift inside. I don't think it'll be much at the NFL level, but he's big enough, I think, that he can see some shift inside. I mean, what's Mike? He was a tweener at Georgia. Whether 6'5", 265 is big enough to tween inside in the NFL, probably not. But he did do it a bit at Georgia.
Yeah. And I just don't know. I think there's going to be an adjustment period here. And his production as a pass rusher each of his 3 years, yes, was pretty similar. It was a consistent 4.5, 5 sacks. I don't think he gets 4.5 or 5 in the NFL. I understand he was playing SEC teams, but still a step up.
What fit is easier to play next to than
Then Joey Bosa.
Yeah, that will certainly help Mikael Williams. I just think there are better players they
Joey Bosa is going to be doubled pretty much like half or more of the snaps.
Cowboys on the clock.
The pick is in.
Jerry Jones gets weird with his picks.
I mean, who knows?
I think my expectation right now would be Matthew Golden. He's been linked heavily to them through this pre-draft
That's who
process.
I had.
Is it the right?
I could see receiver,
no, but
I think receiver as well.
I could also see. I know it might be a little early just on positional value. I think the Cowboys could use a safety, so I could see Starks here.
All right, here we go.
I wouldn't mind Starks. I was thinking they could use some help on that interior.
Yeah, I had Starks going there in my mock draft.
Way too early to draft a Zabel. Yeah, I think I had Golden. I think Michael also had Golden.
I had
it's one of those things where
Tyler Booker.
Yeah, interior. It is a big need.
But is that the guy?
No.
I mean, would I have taken
it's a little early.
It's Jerry Jones. He sees this guy, he gets his guy. He's a starter, I guess. There's not much you can say about Jerry Jones' draft process.
Wow. I mean,
I think he has. I will say, like, I have issue with some of the other ways he's managed the Cowboys, but I do think Jerry Jones, one of his strengths as a GM is drafting. I will say that right now.
What are you smoking? Do you say one of his strengths is drafting?
Because he's drafted Parsons. He's drafted CeeDee Lamb. He's had some really good draft picks.
He's had a couple good high picks, but look at the team now. It stinks.
I think
I'm saying he drafts well, but he doesn't sign well.
Sure.
That's
Tyler Guyton, not a great pick there. He's been fine. Still not a great pick there. Mozzie Smith.
Is he even in the league?
Started last year. He's in the league. I don't think
he's in the league. He's starting right now.
Now he's in the
start. A lot of these guys are starting, but not doing well.
Tyler Smith, a complete bust of a pick. That's another O lineman that seems like a bust of a pick, and now he's back in the O linemen that have seemed like busts of pick.
I don't love this Tyler Booker pick.
I think Booker probably slots in at right guard.
Yeah, he for sure slots in at right guard. He has not had a good. If there's anything Jerry Jones' track record has not shown, it's O-line draft.
That I will agree with. I don't think he's. I don't know if I trust this pick out of Jerry Jones, but at the end of the day, he gets his guys, like you guys were saying.
Have more protection for the star-studded running back room of Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders.
Hey.
Oh God.
It's better than it was.
They might. Maybe they should have gone running back here. I don't know.
Yeah, but Joe Milton's gonna go crazy with that O line.
Hey man, Miles Sanders did it in Philly. Who knows?
By the way, how many O linemen named Tyler can you draft?
I don't
in
know. Is there a
3
limit?
years?
He's taken a
Tyler
lot, right?
Booker,
Guyton,
Tyler
Smith,
Guyton,
and Booker.
and Guyton.
Yeah, I mean, odd.
And none of them have been good. Two of two have been bad. So not a great trend, I would say. But what can you do? What can you do?
He'll be an immediate starter. Immediately will make an impact, I think, because he was a good starter. It's just, I think, yeah, as we said, there are more pressing needs, definitely.
Now, if you're Miami, what on earth do you do?
I had him go Will Johnson. Obviously,
Yeah.
he had even though it's not done, they still haven't traded him. If they hadn't trade him,
Yeah, I mean Jalen Ramsey seems like he's out, right? So
And even if Jalen
who's
Ramsey
even gonna trade
stays,
him?
who's the number 2? Even if Jalen Ramsey stays, that's what I'm.
and also
It's still a
Jalen
need.
Ramsey
Was it
is
last
bad.
year, Cam Smith, I guess. The SC kid, he had some starts last year, I think.
And also, Connor, Jalen Ramsey isn't good.
Second round pick. Yeah, he had a bad year. Historically,
He did have a bad year.
Bad corner last year.
I don't know if that is the standard for him. I think he could bounce back.
He could bounce
But
back, but
it's
not to
probably-
the level you would like him to be at for the amount of money you're
Yeah.
paying him.
Though if I'm another
I
team,
still am taking a corner either way. That's all. I mean, maybe not with this pick, but Storm Duck is their other starting corner right now.
That's
Is
a cool name.
not.
It's a cool
that is
name.
a fire name.
A cool name. Is he a starter? I don't think so.
I don't even know how they're going to get off Jalen Ramsey, because if I'm another team, I'm not trading for 24 mil guaranteed.
Bro, no way. I'm letting the Dolphins eat that contract unless they're giving me picks.
Yeah. I don't think he goes anywhere, but that doesn't necessarily stop Miami from taking a corner here.
Yeah, of course.
I could also see a receiver though. I could see Matthew Golden because Tyreek Hill might still at some point be on the way
Well,
out.
Tyreek Hill has
Another
got
guy where how you going to trade him? Even more controversy in the last 2 days for him involving his
it's
personal
so
life.
weird what's been going on. I can't even understand.
I still think you take a receiver at some point in this draft if you're Miami just to have
Yeah.
some extra
You need-
insurance.
you-
And even
first,
like
yeah.
maybe you got to play hardball on Hill at a certain point. Be like, if you don't keep your act together, like you're gonna lose playing time because if you have enough good players, you
I
have
don't
the
know if
flexibility.
he's so cognizant of losing playing time. I think he's got other things on the mind right now, which is
Fair
concerning.
enough.
I mean, the stuff that has been the videos that I mean, they haven't just been like questionable. They've been scary to watch, almost kind of like, and I don't know how much he's mentally there. The Dolphins have massive problems. I mean, they have offensive line problems. They have defensive line problems. They have cornerback problems, wide receiver problems.
Yeah, either way, he's a question mark. So I think that makes wide receiver a need.
Yeah. Well, the pick is in. Connor, your take on the draft overall thus far?
There was a huge trade. One of the bigger trades you will see, I guess, being the second overall pick getting traded. But man, I really thought we'd see 3 trades by this point. I thought multiple trades down,
Yeah.
trades up, movement. I thought we'd maybe get a trade up for the second QB off the board, though I still think that's more in the 17 to 20 range. It feels, I'll say, lackluster. There were so many talks.
Almost like the
so
air.
unpredictable.
Almost like the air has been taken out of the draft. A little bit. Not a
I don't
lot.
know though.
But an hour-
I think
an hour
I think
before
it's
the
about
draft-
to get crazy.
An hour before the draft, I'd be 90% on my top 10 if I remade my mock.
Yeah.
I
I mean, the top 10 or even top 9 was pretty predictable, but I think from 10 on has been a little bit of wild card
Yes.
picks. So
definitely.
I think I don't know if there's going to be a lot of trades necessarily. There could still be trades, but I do think there's
People
going to be a
follow.
lot of surprise first rounders,
Um,
especially as we get later in.
Now that the Miami pick
Like,
is in,
whoa,
I
we
think
did not have this guy.
I'm not sure if it's a guarantee, but it felt like he's been the only mocked guy to the Colts for about 2 months now in Tyler Warren.
Tyler Warren. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think he's a Colt.
Just so heavily mocked there.
I mocked him there. A lot of people mocked him there.
I think
People either had him as a Jet or a Colt. Jet or a Colt. Those were the only two real possibilities for Tyler Warren.
And I don't think he's going to be a good player, but you know.
Well,
if
hey,
one thing-
Connor,
if there's one thing,
It's better than Mo Alley Cox. I mean, come on.
if
What?
there's one
Mo
thing
Alley
Anthony
Cox
Richardson
is
could use,
fantastic.
it's a guy who just sits in the flat on the screen every play. Because your 30% accuracy on Anthony Richardson can probably make that throw to a tight end that can't move and can't go up the field and just kind of stand still in the flat.
Ooh. We got an interesting pick for the Miami Dolphins here.
Yeah.
Kenneth Grant.
Wow.
The top nose
Kenneth
tackle.
Grant out of Michigan. And I honestly don't hate it. I know it's a little bit of a reach, but I think defensive line
They needed
was
it.
their top.
They needed
They
it.
really, really needed a D-line. Their
Well, I
D-line
mean,
looks...
Yes.
Pick is already in, by the way, for the Colts, so I think we all know who that'll be.
It's probably...
Wait,
it's probably time.
Here's my
But
thing with Kenneth Grant. I think it's a great. I mean, listen, they needed a defensive lineman after they traded. Well, who was the guy they put gave to the Raiders? Or went to the Raiders?
Wilkins.
Yes. After Wilkins
Wilkins.
left,
They have needed...
they couldn't stop
Since
the run last year. They could not stop the run. Every team ran on them.
We got a guy out of Michigan who played next to Mason Graham.
Yeah,
He's now going to lead.
By the
I
way,
still think
yes, go ahead. Carlos.
I am not drafting nose this early. I know there have been great noses.
I was gonna say
one, Vita Vea being another. I still don't like nose this early. Compared to like.
I think I
all-star
personally
agree.
would have probably gone Walter Nolan. But at the same time, I don't hate this pick. It's like a B+ pick to me.
I
not
understand.
perfect.
I understand why they made the pick. But obviously Miami has so many issues. The question is this was this the most pressing issue? Probably
Yes,
not.
I think it absolutely was.
You think it was? You think?
I think
Is it the
D-line
most-
was their most pressing issue as
Is
a
it the
collective.
most pressing issue that in the most stacked D-tackle draft maybe ever, according to analysts, you're taking one here over other positions?
Okay. I guess I see your point. I think it was definitely the biggest Dolphins need. Could they have waited? Sure. But I don't hate going and filling that position of need on day one. Then you just don't have to worry about it later. Because I think a lot of their needs are at deeper positions in this class. It's a pretty deep O-line class. It's a pretty deep receiver class. Corners even. So they will get their players. I'm not all that worried about the Dolphins in this draft.
Yeah, I'm just worried about them when they hit the field, not on the draft though. I mean, they're
Yeah. They'll have a fine draft, but then Tyreek Hill is just gonna fuck things over for them.
Yeah, I mean they got problems. Now we think it's Tyler Warren. Is that the consensus between the three of us?
I can't see it being. They have not been linked to anyone else. I mean, something could happen, obviously, but I just can't see it right now being anyone else.
Yeah, another guy for Anthony Richardson to grossly overthrow the ball to. So that'll be fun to watch.
Though he can't run more than 4 yards down the field, so it's hard to not hit that target.
I mean,
Pierce,
I know you're saying what you're saying about Tyler Warren, but I think it was long overdue.
There you go.
that the Colts take it. Yeah.
Who was the last
I
great
think-
Colts tight end?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There hasn't been one in a long while. I mean, the last decent Colts tight end was probably Eric Ebron. The last great one, I don't know.
Colby Fleener.
Yeah, Kobe Fleener, I don't know if he was even there. Yeah. The Colts, in my time being a football fan, I don't think have ever had a great tight end. And if Warren can live up to his expectations, that would be a very good thing for the Colts to finally
I
have.
feel like Kobe Fleener wasn't that good.
No, he
He was,
wasn't.
what, second
No,
round
he
pick?
wasn't. He was not that good.
He
I
was
mean,
just good because
Dwayne
That was
Allen.
the draft. That was the draft. They went 2 tight ends after Luck too, right? They went like Fleener, Allen, T.Y. Hilton. got him 3 targets immediately, and both tight ends were not good.
I will say, like, yeah, say what you want about Tyler Warren. I do love this pick for them because, like, I mean, you're talking about that Penn State used him as a security blanket. That's like Anthony Richardson. He loves to throw the ball downfield. He needs a security blanket, so he's not chucking it down the
He
field
can
all the
truly
time.
be their next Kobe Fleener. I'll give him that.
I mean, I think he's I think he's a upgrade. He's an upgraded version of Kobe Fleener.
Well, that's not saying
I
that
think
much.
it's Kobe Fleener
Kobe Fleener
without the
stunk.
touchdown.
I think he could be, and that's at his floor. That's at his floor.
Better
At
hope
his
so.
ceiling, he can be a lot. I think he was one of the. I mean, yes, I question his blocking, but as a receiver, I mean, yeah,
But
maybe the
like
Penn State system.
Shane
But
Steichen
I think
has to
he
find
had
a way to use.
receiving
Why are
ability.
there like 8 Commanders fans in that Colts watch party? Did anyone else see that?
No.
Is anyone else on the NFL Network? They're showing this like
That
Colts
is
like
weird.
draft, but everyone's cheering, and like half of them were Commanders.
What is this like? I don't know. Were they traded for Pierre Garcon all those years back? I mean, what are we doing?
Yeah, I also think a big reason why the Colts have never had an elite tight end is a lot due to Peyton Manning and his infamous hospital passes. You have to factor that in as well. Have to.
So, I mean, like Richardson, I don't think is necessarily the type of QB to utilize a tight end that much either. But I think when you have one like Warren, you have to start utilizing. So
Falcons
yeah,
on the
that
board
that
here. What are we thinking?
edge rusher,
Edge
definitely
has
edge
to be
rusher.
edge. Has to be
Delon
edge.
Walker, you get the Georgia kid local.
The question is which one, because I know Jalen Walker has fallen. I kind of predicted him to fall because I have the same concerns around him that I do around Mikael Williams. And then, but I've also seen them linked to guys like Mike Green, James Pierce Jr. I think it could be one of those
I
guys.
just can't see a planet Mike Green goes this fast, given everything in his
17 sacks. That's all I'm
personal life.
saying. I know it was at
It's a
Marshall, but
Zurich-
17
Yeah, but it's at
sacks.
Marshall.
And you had an ACC
I know,
guy with even
but
more.
still, at a certain point, you have to look at that. If it was 9 sacks at Marshall, I'm not looking at Mike Green at all, obviously. But
I think
he
you're
did
picking
lead
I think
all
you're-
of FBS.
You're picking the kid from Georgia locally here. If I were, to
I
guess,
like that too. You need an
and
edge.
Delon
This team
Walker.
is desperate for any sort of pass
Walker
rush.
originally from there. I don't know about that. I'm looking
Desperate
right
for a
now.
pass rush. Desperate.
Okay, Jalen Walker originally from South Carolina, so he probably either grew up a Falcons fan or a Panthers fan. And it's very important which one.
Desperate for a pass rush, and I think they have to go with a pass rush. I think for me, like when I think of this Falcons team, they can't survive without putting any pressure. Like they put zero pressure on the opposing quarterback all of last season. It just did not happen. They traded for Matthew Judon, who did absolutely nothing. Grady Jarrett's
We're gonna
gone.
absolutely choke out of the Detroit Pistons here.
I will say you guys are talking up Walker. I was talking up Mike Green. I think the best pick here, honestly, for the Falcons, in my opinion, would be James Pierce Jr.
Actually, I have one other pick they could make. Have we thought about
James Pierce against-
Shadur Sanders here? I mean, they got Michael Penix,
No thought.
injury prone.
thoughts.
They got Kirk Cousins, injury prone. Maybe they need another backup
We're not-
just to sure things up. Just to sure things up.
That would be
Connor.
the messiest quarterback room of all time, but
Just to sure things up,
I know.
Connor. That's all I'm saying.
James Pierce has been linked to them. I know Matt Miller said that for sure. I think we've also seen a lot of James Pierce dropping. In
yeah.
I still have
But
him
if there's
high,
a team
but I
that would
see-
take him this early, I think it's the Falcons.
a second round grade by Mel Kiper, I think. I still have him as a top 10 player in my big board. I don't know. It'll
Yeah,
be.
and I
it'll
mean
be
he
interesting to see.
played. He obviously also an SEC player, and I
SEC
believe
and performed in the SEC.
performed in the SEC. He had more production the last 2 years than Jalen Walker did. So I know people look at the potential with Jalen Walker, but I look at these two guys head to head. They're in the SEC, and Pierce produced more than Walker. I would have a hard time picking Walker over Pierce, given that. And I know everybody was so high on Jalen Walker. I just don't see the vision.
Hey, he could have the same exact drop that Nolan Smith had a couple years ago, and
Yeah.
people mocking him like top 10. Fell to 30.
I had him falling to
9 maybe
26
the Eagles.
personally.
And then the Eagles got him, and he turned out to arguably be one of the best edges in that draft.
So
that was
let me
the
ask you this: as we look at the
2023
draft, where is the next place Shedeur could go? Do we think?
I think it's
Without a trade, it's Pittsburgh.
Steelers. Yeah, without a trade, it's Steelers.
Oh boy.
I think you're going to see some action together of the Steelers with teams that have been heavily rumored to want to trade down, such as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, such as the Denver Broncos.
And I know the
teams that have been
Seahawks
willing to trade
always trade down.
down. Only 30
The Seahawks
seconds
do it
left
all.
on the clock for the Falcons for me.
What if they miss?
I
their
see
pick?
that the pick
Yeah, the
There
pick
it
is in.
Pick is in. yet to be announced, but
really,
it is in.
really working to the clock. I'm still gonna stick with my guns. Say Jalon Walker. You know, take the kid from Georgia, right?
I like it.
I'll
there,
stick with my
right there for
say
us.
Pierce.
I like it.
Yeah, he linked him. Michael, you have any thought? You think Walker too?
I
What's your
like
thought
Walker.
on it?
Any edge, but I think Walker's better than Green. So yes.
All right, so Michael's got any edge. I've got Pierce. Connor's got Walker. We're
You
all
picked an
on
edge,
very
so
similar
Michael
pages.
goes any edge.
Any
Michael
of
should
them.
just throw it a Femi Oladeju vote. You know.
All right, but Michael
One of those
can
late
play
Georgias.
Mike Green, I guess.
No. I don't want him.
Why?
Give me
Or
Walker.
no,
Just
claim,
claim
Walker.
Ezrique.
claim
He's
your
your
BC
school.
guy. Claim your BC
Claim
guy.
Ezrique. He's your school.
I don't think he
Make
goes
him your
here.
guy.
Me
I
neither,
don't
but I wouldn't hate it.
Though,
I would not hate it.
though, Falcons' best player in their team's history was from PC.
Matty Ice.
Yeah, Ezeriku would not be a terrible pick here. I
Matty
think that would
Ice.
be a sneaky good one.
All right, folks. The pick is in official. As
We're
we
moving
hear,
fast tonight.
Mike-
I will say that.
I like it. I like that they're moving fast tonight. We need that. Sometimes this thing takes too long at times.
I wonder if Goodell just like told all the GMs like, do me a favor and speed this up this year, please.
That would be nice.
I think he wants max time. That wouldn't
All right.
sense.
All right.
And
Here we
Connor,
go.
you would be right.
Yeah.
Jalen Walker.
There you go. Georgia
I think
boy.
he's immediately a starting edge rusher. I don't think there's any. I don't think you're putting him in.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, I will say that I would not be shocked if the Falcons take either A, another edge, or B, a linebacker later on, because I think this whole linebacker core, including edge rushers, is depleted.
Yeah, I mean, are you
And-
trusting Leonard Floyd? Are you trusting Hayden Ellis? Arnold Ebiketie?
Troy Anderson, I'm certainly not trusting.
Yeah, like these guys are like tough to really trust.
And Arnold
yeah,
Abikity,
definitely
he
would
was
not be
taken
shocked.
second round a few years back. I remember when they took
Bad
him,
pick.
but
Bad pick.
yeah, that was not a good pick. So yeah, I as much as I have my doubts with Jalen Walker, I don't hate this pick.
I think it's the best pick they could have made.
I'm a Pierce guy myself, but I think it's a good pick.
Now, this is a very interesting pick in my opinion. What do the Cardinals do?
Could we see Amarian Hampton here? Because
I
James
don't
Conner
think so. James Conner
is the starter right now.
Don't
He's
think
the
so.
starter right now, but this guy is 30 coming on 31. How many more years does he have as the starting running? Excuse me, he's 29 coming on 30.
Yeah, but do they need
either
another
way,
running back?
what 29? This is my thing. 29 years old. It's like a cutoff for running backs typically, unless you're Derrick Henry. That is usually the drop off age for running backs. So I really don't know how
But
much
do
longer.
they need a running back?
I would say in the long term they do.
They could use a cornerback. They could use a lineman, probably.
Yeah, Hampton was my original mock to them, but I think given some of the guys that have fallen, corner could be a place to address, whether it's Johnson or
Will
Barron.
Johnson right here would be a great pick.
Their line's kind of
That would be an absolute steal, I would say. And then, I mean, my thing with offensive line, I think it is Arizona's biggest need. The four best guys on the board are gone unless you want to take a gamble. I mean, the thing is, I think the bigger need on the offensive line for the Cardinals is on the interior. And are you really taking Ray Zabel here? I don't think so.
Hey, Tyler Booker went, right?
Tyler Booker went, but Tyler
I
Booker
think
and Ray
most-
Zabel are two different things. You have an
I think
Alabama
the
guard
majority
compared
of
to an
people-
Indian guard.
I think majority of people had Zabel rated high. Majority of analysts, if you look at big boards.
So yeah, it could be Zabel, but I think Will Johnson would be the far better pick here. I
Will
think
Johnson would
that
be a
is
home run pick. Home
Yeah.
run pick.
Will Johnson's a home run.
I love Will Johnson here. I think that would be.
I wouldn't hate Zabel or Barron or even Hampton, but Will Johnson's the right pick.
Will Johnson would be so good here for this Cardinals team,
And
especially
Patrick
with
Peterson
Gannon as
retired,
their
right?
head
So he's
coach.
your replacement. You
And the
got
pick's already
Sean
in, which
Murphy-
tells
Sean
me
Murphy Bunting,
they knew who they wanted.
But Will Johnson and then Garrett Williams in the slot, that's fairly solid cornerback core.
Yeah, Max Melton will not be starting this year, I don't think. So you got Johnson, Murphy Bunting, and Garrett Williams in one cornerback group. I think Johnson has the upside to eventually be the number one in that group. If he's the pick here.
Let's see
But-
what happens. Yeah, so, it was
Let's
another
see.
team that got rumored to be interested in a trade down. That does not happen.
There
Yeah.
really have
Should
not
be an
been
interesting pick.
any.
I think the
trade
next
downs.
trade might be for a quarterback. Because really, there's only a few
Yeah,
picks
I mean,
left
it's
before the
coming up.
Steelers. Somebody will jump them.
The row of trade down candidates who are willing to get more picks right there ahead of the Steelers.
Connor,
Yeah,
you're,
Seahawks.
Connor,
Giants,
you're
Saints, all
you're
of
getting
you.
called out in the chat.
Oh, I'm getting called out in the chat.
Getting called out. I don't know this guy. I don't know if you know this guy. He says, I know the guy in the middle, the type to offer 3 mid to trash players in fantasy for a top 10 player and then try to make fun of you for saying no. LMAO. Not wrong. Not wrong about
Not
that.
wrong at all.
Not
Yeah.
wrong. It's actually
Pretty
Not
accurate.
wrong at all.
it's a pretty accurate take.
I would
Eventually-
say, yeah.
eventually
Connor and I
they
know
do
from
accept.
experience that
I have
is-
always getting crazy trade offers for both you, Connor, and John. I feel like all the time.
Well,
Andrew, we made good discussions. We've made good trades over the past couple
Sure.
of years.
yeah, and
we
Connor and I made
have-
a great trade this year. He gave me Bubic and
Yeah.
Miguel Amaya, and I gave him back Tanner
I
Hawk.
feel like with both you and I feel like it's always like we end up making the deal, but the initial offer
Walter
is
Nolan.
Well,
always
you gotta,
first.
that's how negotiations work.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's an interesting
Whoa.
pick,
Uh,
Walter Nolan.
Well, I guess you had
Ooh.
Milton Williams for one day and then lost out on him after he backed out and went to the Patriots.
Yep.
Let's go Pats.
So
But-
so you get the replacement, I suppose.
Yeah,
By
I
the
don't know.
way,
I think this is
The Maple
long-term
Leafs
pick,
just
but-
scored a game winner. I know one of my friends is watching. He's a Leafs fan, so I had to throw it up as he's texting me on
the
stream.
Leafs succeeding in the first round of the playoffs.
Is
Look at
that
that.
to win the first round?
They're up 3-0. It's the Senators, though.
Oh my
so.
god. Well, who knows? Could still choke. It's the
You
Leafs.
never know.
Yeah. But
Nick's about to take down the Pistons, assuming nothing absolutely impossible happens.
Yeah.
So
look at
that's a
this
couple-
Walter Nolan pick.
I mean, am I
Yeah,
in love with it?
he's-
Given who else was available, probably not.
I expected him to go higher, so I guess you got a faller. It's one of those things where Walter Nolan, he had a fantastic year for Ole Miss. You know that I guess they wanted that tackle to pair next to Tomlinson. They did sign what?
They signed
39-year-old
Tomlinson.
Calais Campbell,
They signed Calais Campbell. This is my
who probably
thing.
can't play every snap.
No, he cannot.
think-
He cannot play every snap.
This year, he is probably going to be sharing time with Calais Campbell. And my thing is like, yeah, sure, that'll allow Nolan time to develop. But at the end of the day, with the players that were on the board, they could have gotten a day
That's
one
what I'm
starter
saying.
with this
You
pick.
could have.
They could have gotten a player who has the room to start on day one. I'm
No,
not
I
even
mean,
saying that Nolan is not a day one starter. I think it's just a crowded position.
Other than a receiver, I don't know where you see a starter. I guess the thing is, in my eyes, Will Johnson's not starting
maybe.
week one. I don't think he's starting week one because I think he's injured.
I don't know. Okay, I see your point. As soon as he's
either
healthy,
way, that's real investment on that D line. Tomlinson, Sweat tried to get Williams, get Nolan instead. You know,
they did really
added-
beef it up.
you lost Pat Pete, obviously, but then you went and
Well, technically, they got Pat
Murphy
Pete
Bunting was
back.
there last year.
Technically, they got him
He
back.
retired.
Yeah,
Was
he went
coaching
back.
there?
Yeah, Buddha's still there. You know, they convinced him to stay.
Even
Chad
though he
Ryland's
didn't
your
want to
kicker.
stay.
Patriots legend. I think you just need. It's the same story it's been since he's been a rookie. It's like you need Kyler to show that he can put it together every single day.
Well, it's
I-
it's not every single day. It's just can he put together after the new COD comes out? That's what the real question mark is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
love
love Walter Nolan as a player. I just don't know if it was the right pick for Arizona in particular.
I don't know if it was the right pick
Arizona's-
based on who was available. That's my question.
You talk
Yes.
about one of the worst defenses in the league for the past 4 years, probably.
Yep.
And now you spent every resource you have to buff it up. And now you say, hey, you can't blame the defense, Kyler. It is on you to make something happen.
That's
and this
very
is where
true.
You decide, is he your QB? Do you extend him or is he not? Actually, they might have already extended
I
him.
think they already
But you
did.
can kind of
extend.
decide. You can decide if
I
he's your
will
QB.
just generally say that I'm very surprised by the lack of cornerbacks that have gone so far in this draft. And I think the Bengals are another team that to me stand out.
They
as
could.
needing a cornerback.
They would love Will Johnson here. I'll tell you what.
Yes, if the Bengals take Will Johnson here, I'm sorry, that's robbery. That is robbery.
Be a steal.
Highway robbery.
Shout out to the Pistons for losing. Knicks with a big win.
I had the Pistons winning that series, so
Yeah,
not
so
a
did
great
I.
look. But
But still plenty of game left. Plenty of game left.
yeah, I mean, it's one lead for the Knicks. It's not over.
Some other scores: the Panthers defeated the Lightning 2-0. Obviously, the Leafs won in overtime 3-2 over the over the Senators. And the Bengals pick is in, by the way. So we're about to figure out where they're going, who they're going with.
Will Johnson or not Will Johnson? That's really the
Connor,
question.
who do you think they go with?
I'm gonna say no. Yeah, I'm gonna say no. But I'd be happy with that pick. I just don't think.
But who
do
do
they
you think
take?
they go with? Who do you think they take?
I think it's an edge rusher. I think it's an edge rusher.
To replace Sam Hubbard? I mean, not
Outside
a bad
of
idea.
Go
Yeah. I think it'd be Green. I think I saw him linked to him. I think I also put that in my mock, so I'll just.
I just don't think the Bengals expected Will Johnson to fall here,
No,
and
I
I
don't
think
think
the
they
fact
did
that
Love those.
The
draft-
fact that he
those
has
draft
makes them have to.
Really good draft predictions by Vikram. Person knows in chat. I enjoy those draft predictions.
Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna click on
Um,
that link based on your reaction, Connor. I don't think that.
it's just, Michael. You should click on it.
No, I don't think I'm gonna.
It's draft predictions.
I don't know if I don't know if
Um,
that's real draft.
I don't
predictions.
even see.
I
I don't
think-
even see the link.
Different chat. Different chat.
I
Don't
just
worry.
see my draft prediction.
Don't. I'm
Uh,
sure you don't want to see it. I'm not looking. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be Mike Green. I think it's going to be an edge if I were to pick.
The link was
I-
too
I
long
think-
for chat.
Yeah, it's. I think we might just have links off, so any link would be too long.
Thank God. I
I'm
mean,
not sure. My Bucks almost on the clock. I'd really love Jihad Campbell, but I'd also love a trade down. Is what I'm.
I'm glad we got to react to the Will Campbell pick live here
Yeah.
because
we
was
barely
just
got
in
that
time,
up.
Barely.
Yeah.
Barely beat it
all
out.
right, the Bengals.
oh, I don't know about that pick.
Not the edge. Not the edge. I would.
Jamar Stewart. Jamar Stewart. And like I was slamming Jalen Walker for production, and they go and take Jamar Stewart.
I don't think
I
that
think-
was the guy I had in mind.
Yeah.
What are you doing? What are
I
you
mean,
doing?
You
Oh.
can argue he's not
Worst
even
pick
the
yet.
best edge. Yeah,
Worst
he's
pick
not
yet.
even the best edge on that line with Nick Sprout in there.
Terrible. Oh my
He's
God.
fully upside, fully athletic traits, just
Yeah.
fully.
And I don't like a
cutting edge
player
and
that's
stuff.
all potential. I like a player
But
who's already
also-
producing at the college level, especially you're a contending team.
Yeah, you're contending. You want to win with Joe Burrow.
But
and
what
you're making-
This team
makes
wants
zero
well,
sense.
It doesn't make
It's
any
terrible
sense.
pick.
The
Your
Bengals
athleticism
continue. It just doesn't make any sense. There's so many other ways picks they could have made. I mean, I think I had Shamar Stewart late first, and that was high for him before the draft.
I had him falling out of the first round entirely. I had him
Yeah,
as a
I
day
don't.
two
I don't
pick.
think I had him in the first round of my mock either. Just one of those guys that I just didn't see a world where he stuck into that first round.
Not only did he stick in Connor, he's at 17.
It's, yeah, nearly the first half.
I've been grading every pick just in my notes. I'll get into some of my grades a little later if we have more time. But this is the first pick that I have graded below a C. This is a G plus pick to me.
I've graded Tyler Warren below a C.
I mean, he almost just tackled Goodell.
Okay,
so-
Bill, that's your take on Tyler Warren. You just don't think Tyler
It's
Warren's a
very much
good
my
player.
take on Tyler Warren.
I think Tyler Warren is going to be a very strong receiving tight end. I just question his blocking ability. I think
Blocking ability is probably very mediocre, I would have to say. But
I'm trying to think of a comparison here, but I
Rumors-
think maybe think like Darren Waller if he stayed healthy.
Rumors
that's
regarding
why I
a
can see
Giants
Tyler
trade up to 18. Nothing concrete, but rumors surrounding a Giants trade up to pick 18.
wow, who was it?
Seahawks.
Shador
no pick.
Sanders.
If it's
That
not
could
the
be.
Seahawks, it'll probably be the Bucks. If it's the Giants, it's Shador Sanders,
Yep.
and that'd be fantastic for them. I think
Yeah.
ending up with Carter and Shador, it's really what you wanted.
And that's, I mean, people have mixed opinions on Shador Sanders, but like if you look at a lot of the consensus big boards, that's two top 10 consensus players. As much as Shador has character issues, as much as Shador is a risky pick.
And nothing less for a big market team like New York.
Yep.
Shador gets butts and seats. Shador sells jerseys,
Shador says
and
so
that
many
sometimes
jerseys.
matters more than production.
He's a cash cow, bottom line.
Hey man,
Yeah,
that's what Luka Doncic is for the Lakers. So I mean, it works. The pick is in for the Seahawks, so they are going to make a pick. But maybe
the
Connor's
Grizzlies-
Bucks.
I would not
The
hate
Memphis
Zabel.
Grizzlies have a lead for the first time in the series against OKC. So
The Seahawks are going to stick and pick. I mean, I know what I said earlier. This is a team I can see taking Gray Zabel.
Get a haul, Tampa Bay. Get a haul.
Get a haul.
I don't care about anyone there. Get me the Giants' second-round pick for the next 2 years.
I mean, the
And for the
Bucks are
Seahawks-
building pretty well.
For the Seahawks, I went interior line here. I thought it was simple for them.
Yes.
It's really exactly what they need. Is it high
I
physical?
went-
Maybe.
Yeah. I went defensive line in my mock draft, but I believe I had them taking. Hang on, I'm gonna check the receipts here. I believe I had them taking Walter Nolan, and he's off the board. So I think at this point Zabel is probably the
You did
right
have them
pick.
take Nolan in yours.
Yes, I had him
Likely
taking
had to go with
Nolan.
Buka,
Nolan's gone.
replacing that DK Metcalf production. I could see that too. I'm a big fan of Emeka Ibuka.
I do like Ibuka.
I do too, but I don't think he goes to the Seahawks.
No, I don't think Seattle's
Even
the
though
fit.
DK
If he
is
goes somewhat early, what about Denver as a fit for Ibuka?
not a bad fit.
I think that could make sense. Denver, I think they go Amari on Hampton. I think it's been set in stone that they badly want a running back.
All right, here's Goodell.
I know it's a
It could
little
be
bit of
trade down
desperation.
Still, it could be a trade down still.
Zabel.
There we
Zabel.
go. Okay, we
The
called it.
biggest need.
That is absolutely the biggest need. I mean,
Yeah,
Seattle's
they
interior
needed it.
O-line was
It
god-awful
was
last year.
atrocious, man. It was horrible.
Yeah, they had nothing up the middle. So yeah, I get the pick. I'm not personally that high on Zabel as a player, but I know the NFL was, and I'm not. I don't necessarily have a great track record evaluating linemen, so I tend to trust the NFL scouts in that department.
Yeah, I mean,
Greg
listen.
Zabel, Greg Zabel, fantastic pitcher. Filthy fastball. Just saying. I saw a pitching ninja post about him earlier. Just a crazy arm.
I mean,
That's all.
so Connor, Zabel, I think it's a good pick. Again, fits a need. Let me ask you this: the Bucks. What would you want from the Giants for this?
Giants draft picks. I want Giants draft.
How
picks.
many though? What's the offer that you would like?
I want the set. Their second
Salivate
this year
at.
at the top of the second. I want their second next year, and I want one other day 3 pick, probably a fourth, hopefully. Is I think.
Do you
fair.
do you
Um,
think you could land maybe not next
Oh my
year's
God,
first,
Gray
but
Zabel has a Settlers of
I think you
Catan
could land
board
next
game
year's
next to
first
him
if
while he
you
was
offer
getting the call.
Maybe next year, your own second next year,
Oh.
something like that, and you could get to that point.
okay,
But
this guy's cool.
If it's the Saints calling, you're asking for the next 2 years first, because fuck the Saints. But if it's the Giants calling, I'll take a couple seconds, and I'll be happy with it. Because you know they're desperately trying to get Shador ahead of those Steelers.
I mean, please, for the love of God, do not let the Steelers take Shedeur Sanders. Let me
That'd
ask
be
you this.
hilarious. Aaron Rodgers would literally have nowhere to go. I'd love that.
He'd retire. That's where he'd go. He'd go to Canton.
Yeah, I guess so.
I mean, he's
I
basically
guess
already
so.
rumored that he is going to Canton. But this is a very interesting spot. I mean, the Bucks have to be taking calls right now.
Come on,
no?
New York. Bidding war. Saints, New York, bid on it. Come on now. Give me my picks.
Drive the price
Get
up.
Michael Hairston at the top of the second.
Connor's
Send
seething.
Jamel Dean to the shadow realm. I want them picked.
You want that picks?
If you're sticking, I'm ecstatic with Will Johnson if you're sticking. Ecstatic with Will Johnson, but I want them picked.
You want them picks? Hey man, I respect that. I respect that. Andrew.
It's left, so they're taking the calls down the line.
Andrew, who do you think the Bucks? What do you think they do here? Do you think they trade, or do you think they stick and pick?
I think the Bucks are gonna stick and pick here. It's just I don't know. This doesn't feel like much of a trade market right now.
I think it's very obvious the trade market. I think two teams are trying heavily to get above the Steelers. Heavily.
Yeah, I know, but at the same time, it's just it hasn't come together. So we'll have to see what happens. Maybe it's a little overblown.
You got to get desperate at some point. You couldn't make it work with maybe the Cardinals. You definitely couldn't make it work with the Seahawks after being down to the wire in talks. You got to be desperate. You got to give up more, and the Bucks will take more.
Think we might have a trade. I think we
So
might have a
maybe-
Pick is
trade.
in. No, pick is in.
Maybe we're wrong and there is a trade.
There definitely could be. Could be trade. Pick is in, but I'm seeing pick is in.
Yep,
I'm
Schefter
also
just
seeing
Schefter just tweeted Buccaneers are picking, so they're not trading out of it.
I would take Will Johnson. I'm fine with Jihad Campbell. I'm fine with Jade Barron.
What about a safety here, Connor?
Well, Barron has that flex safety option. I think the
True.
thing is
Maybe you go
they've-
Barron.
They've told Tyke Smith that we want you to start at safety this year. He was the slot last year. He got hurt, and then his replacement played fantastic in that slot position. And now you're at a point where slot and safety is not necessarily an issue because you're confident with Christian Izzy in your slot and Tyke Smith in your safety.
All right,
spot.
well, thanks to Albert Breer, I accidentally had the pick spoiled. Connor, I'll be very interested to see how you feel about this pick.
Is it is it a Mika? That's the only guy we've been heavily rumored to. That I'm just like, why? I mean, I wouldn't mind it, but odd if it is.
I mean,
By your smile,
I don't
I
want to
think it
spoil it
is.
for you. I want
By
you.
your smile, I think it's Emeka Egbuka because I said that. And yeah, that's if that is the pick who Michael doesn't want to spoil, that'd be a ridiculous receiving core.
Can you imagine
ridiculous.
Godwin,
No more
Evans?
Sterling Shepard dropping every ball in the playoffs on my football team.
I mean,
He's a
it's
horrible
also,
football
but if you think
player.
about it, it's also insurance. I mean, you know, Godwin and Evans
Yeah,
do have
for
injury histories.
A couple injury-prone guys, and he fits in. You know, depending on what happens, Mike Evans said probably not more than 2 years. Whatever happened, he's fantastic. He is my top wide receiver in the entire class.
If it is Egbuka, where does he
Hunter
play?
listed as an athlete. Egbuka's immediately a wide receiver 3 in that slot with Shepard.
And what happens to Jalen McMillan?
Well, J-Mac wasn't
Because he
in the
was
slot
good
that much.
last
J-Mac, they had a movement. They didn't have him in the slot that much.
Yeah, he was
found
he was
his-
the right side receiver, but yeah.
He
Godwin
found his
was-
footing because Chris Godwin got hurt and he took that slot. Because he took that slot.
Yeah.
But the Bucks consistently had Sterling Shepard in that slot almost all of the year. After having
Yeah.
Trey Palmer in it for the first 3 games, that was horrible. But I'm
So
very
you
happy
have
to see Sterling
Egbuka
Shepard
there
back.
instead of Shepard.
Yeah. I think he's in your slot instead of Shepard, and then J-Mac you just rotate because Mike Evans and Chris Godwin both play under an 80% snap count.
I just would not personally understand taking a receiver here because there are bigger needs, I'd say, in the secondary. I think secondary is, I mean, yes, you have Jamel Dean and Antoine Wingfield, but around them, not really much here.
And there
I
you
mean,
go,
Tyke
Connor.
Smith was probably
And Mika
one of the better-
Egbuka, the 21st
one of the better nickelbacks
overall
in the
pick.
whole league last year. Jamal Dean, I agree, should be replaced. But quarterbacks are falling like fire. So you probably think
I don't know
second round,
why.
we can be happy with the cornerback. I don't
But
know.
Egbuka,
they are.
Connor, do you guys have the best wide
I
receiver
love
core
the
in the
player.
NFL?
Oh, they do easily. They might have had it before this pick. But I think it's a good pick. You know, that is value for a guy I had as my 11th player in the class, not counting Travis Hunter as an athlete, because that's kind of what I listed him as. He's my top wide receiver.
ATH.
He's my top pass catcher. I have him over both the
Yeah.
tight ends. He's my top guy.
He's a stud.
I'm
He's a stud.
Okay.
He's a bona
Hear me,
fide
like-
number 1. And that leaves Denver. So our team's going to be making calls with Denver because they could draft Hampton later.
I think they have. I think you are desperate at this point. If you want Shedeur Sanders,
and
You are trading with Denver.
And Denver,
trade
they
with
could-
Denver.
they could
There's
get
a lot of
Hampton
good players
later.
still on the
It's
board.
it's not a now need, it's a later need potentially.
Yeah.
And,
You can get another running.
and this draft has been very
Yeah, it's
weird. A lot of things are going on that feel right but don't feel right together almost. It feels like teams are making good
Yeah.
picks. Doesn't feel like everything's supposed to be happening all at once. And then there's the
And I just think
then
some of these fits have been weird. some of these fits have been weird because, yeah, I will just say this right now. I love Walter Nolan and I love Amika Buga as players. I do not love their landing spots at all because I think they're both in crowded situations. Whereas if they in teams that didn't really need them that desperately, whereas if they were on a team with more of a need for the position, they could have gotten more playing time from day one that I think they could have been capable of taking on.
A reminder: Chris Godwin potentially won't be ready for the start of the season, and also their starting slot was Sterling Shepard. Like he's not in a crowded room for his spot. Chris Godwin has not played that spot. Has not played that slot for 3 years. And J Mac did not slide into that slot. He found his footing after Godwin.
And again, you know, Mike Evans has had injuries every year. Godwin's had
both
I don't hate it. I don't hate it, but I don't love it.
Mike Evans has not run over an 80% snap count, I think, in like 6 years.
I think it's a good move for setting up a future wide receiver room that is talented. I mean, that's what it is.
It's a good. I'd say it's a solid pick. It's one again that they probably won't regret. Is it the optimal pick? I don't think so.
What else did the Bucks really need, though? I mean, I guess they could have taken Will Johnson.
I think
corners, safeties. Those are my biggest.
Any of the 3 positions that people point out, cornerback, linebacker, edge, you're displacing a different player. Jamal Dean, I'm fine if you displace. I like Chris Braswell. I think he has potential. I like Savakia Dennis if he can stay healthy. He wasn't healthy last year. And you can still get depth later because cornerbacks are falling and no linebackers are off the board.
Yeah.
And it's a deep linebacker class.
It's true.
So if you're not reaching on Jihad, whatever, man. You got 2 more.
I like the Bucks linebacker core. The secondary is where I have questions.
Yeah, I think all you need to replace is Jamal Dean. Is the hopeful idea. Obviously, you would like a late round pick for depth at safety, /nickel, just because injury issues for both of your guys out there, for both Christian Izien and Tyke Smith. Yeah. But they are very comfortable with Tyke Smith being their starting safety.
I will say, Denver is the clock is coming down, so they are definitely taking calls 100% right now. They're at a minute. 40.
Yeah, they've got to be calls. I think. I don't know that the Giants are necessarily the only team that would want to trade up for a quarterback. Because, when I look at teams that need a quarterback right now, more than just a little bit, I look at the Jets maybe. I look at even the Steelers maybe trying to protect the pick. I look at the Saints, and I look at the Browns. Any of those teams could be trading up here. I mean, I could see the Browns trade up and take Jackson Dart instead of Shedeur.
I would be very shocked. It's going really down to the wire for the Broncos. I'd be shocked if they can't make a trade work because probably the most heavily team rumored to want to trade down if they couldn't trade up for Genty.
Yeah, and my thing with Denver is I actually think there's a lot of good directions the Broncos could take with this pick. The thing is, they can trade down and still get a player they're comfortable with.
Well, they are picking. The pick is in. So
then I think it's hard to not see Shedeur Sanders being a Pittsburgh Steeler. He's Mike Tomlin's guy. We've said it for a while now. And then it becomes, does anyone else trade back in the first round, get that 5th-year option on Jackson Dart?
Yeah, I even had... this is probably a later round thing just because you want to give Richardson more time. I even had the Colts as a team to maybe watch for a surprise quarterback pick.
No. The reason
you
why...
can see it if one drops in the second round.
The reason why... maybe in the second round, not in the first round just because it's the same GM. So he can't draft a wide
go back on it. Yeah, I see what you're saying. And then the Raiders are another team.
Broncos pick is in. I'm going to say Marion Hampton. I don't know if I can see it being anyone else after all the rumors about
I'm going to go with I don't know. I'm going to go with James Pierce Jr. here. I think edge rusher is a consideration for the Denver Broncos here.
Peyton loves his defensive guys. He loves to stack that defense.
Yeah, so I'm going to say it's James Pierce Jr.
Connor, you have Hampton?
It could be.
What's up, Michael?
It could
Did
be a
you say
corner as
Hampton?
well with how these corners.
Yeah, I think I'd get it. Could be. I mean,
Mom, turn that
unless you're not
down.
believing on Pat Surtain, which I don't know if you necessarily should.
I think it is Surtain that they believe. I mean,
I think you could go safety.
Are
You
you-
could go Stokes or Barron. Because
Yeah.
how much do you
Good
really
picks.
believe in Hafunga off the injury?
I don't know about McMillian in the slot. That's more my.
Oh, you
Thing
think a
with
slot
Denver.
guy? I guess Barron could maybe play
Like,
the slot. You could.
Yeah, Barron. Barron could be a
Barron could
pick
play the
here, but
slot.
I'm gonna say Pierce.
I'm gonna stick with Hampton.
All right.
All right.
The pick is being made by a kid named Sam, who is wearing a very nice blue suit. I think he beat
Looks good.
cancer. I think that's the story. Make a wish. So he's gonna get to announce a
Good
pick.
for him.
Very cool.
First rounder.
That's impressive. They usually don't allow them to do that,
A
but
lot of the time, yeah, they stick him.
they
in
usually
like the
stick them in
second
the
I've seen-
second round, day
I've
two.
seen one other example of this.
But this is sick.
I-
Here we go. It better be a good pick, by the way. You don't ever want to be remembered for announcing a bad player. So you never want to. That's not a good memory. Barron.
Jay Barron.
There
That's
you
a
go.
slot slash
All
safety
right.
option.
That is I actually really like that fit for the Denver Broncos.
It's a
I
good
think
one.
yes, Surtain and Riley Moss are good outside corners. You needed that slot guy, and he has the flexibility to play safety. I think he could do a lot of different things for this team, and that
Yeah,
really
He's excellent. He's an excellent player.
I just don't know if I'm comfortable using a first round pick on a slot corner. You see the best slot corners in most drafts going in like the third round.
but he has the safety flexibility.
Yeah, I think if you don't believe in Hafunga coming back from that injury, which I think is fair, you could stick with Reese Taylor in that slot and run.
I will say it's one of my favorite picks in a few picks here now. Like I'd say one of the better value picks of the round.
Yeah, it's a good
and
one.
to
Let's
me,
take a look at
to me the best pick since Jalen Walker.
how fast will this pick be in?
It's not in yet.
Is it Shador?
Yeah, I don't know because this is the interesting thing to me. Is I know there've been a lot of smoke stealers in Shador.
I don't think he goes.
Are
to
they
Pittsburgh.
Why don't
are
you
they
put that-
Shador over Dart or are they Dart over Shador?
I
I'm
don't
pretty sure
think
it's
Shador
Shador.
goes to Pittsburgh. I hope he
Barron,
doesn't.
Was
I could
coached
I
by
could see it
Vance
being
Joseph's
Dart.
cousin. Yeah, it could be Dart. I just think, I think there is a connection between Tomlin and Shador as we've seen, right?
It's fair.
And I don't know if I like that. I think Tomlin. I respect Tomlin as a coach, but I
Michael
think
doesn't.
he has a little bit
No, I
too
don't.
much tolerance
He's
for
listen.
big egos in the locker room.
I love Tomlin, but it's been time for him to go. The Steelers need a new presence, a new locker room, a new coach.
I think they need someone who
And they
can
have
keep
for a
those
while.
egos in check or
Okay.
not bring them in the first place.
Michael, what kind of picks could you get for Mike Tomlin?
That's a good question. You could probably get a first for Mike Tomlin. From
Well,
a
the
bad
pick is
team.
now
You
in.
got it first.
I'm
is in?
suspecting quarterback.
Mike
Yeah,
Tomlin
it's
seems
I
happy,
would
so
say it's probably
I hate this, but it might be Shador. I think it's gonna be Shador.
It
If it's
seems
not
yesterday's on
quarterback,
every rumor.
it could be.
I
don't
think it's
know.
Shador.
Yeah,
I
it's
hate it, and I
probably-
will hate it. But I think it's Shador Sanders.
What would it be if not quarterback? That's what I'm thinking here because
I don't know. It's the Steelers.
could it be
Edge
running
rusher,
back?
maybe.
Because
Tackle is an option.
Yeah, they need a tackle, man. That tackle's below.
because Jalen Warren as the RB1, I don't know if I trust that. So Hampton could be an option
No,
if they
they're not
want a
drafting
QB later.
another running back in the first round after
Yeah.
Najee, bro.
I think you take
True,
Hampton.
true. That's a fair point.
They could
And
go
they signed what,
quarterback. I mean,
He's an interesting.
That's definitely a possibility. You could go Will Johnson. That would be robbery here.
They could.
They
They won't.
I'm thinking on my thought on Will Johnson right now is there's something in medicals that we as fans don't know
Yeah.
about the teams.
Probably. I mean that.
You're probably right.
That's the
Probably
only
right.
explanation.
That's
If he-
always what happens.
If he
We-
keeps
we
if he
bring up
keeps
the name.
dropping, I will agree with that because he should not have dropped this far. If he drops past 25, I think that has a lot of. All right, here we go. Thank God. Thank you, Jesus.
That's not Shedeur Sanders.
Oh my God.
Eric
That's not Shedeur
Harmon.
Sanders.
Oh,
I
That's not
was.
Shedeur Sanders.
Holy.
think about this one.
I'm just so happy it's not
Okay.
Shedeur. That's your Cam Hayward
It's
replacement.
a solid.
That's your Cam
It's a
Hayward
solid
replacement.
pick.
That's
I
your.
think
It's a
we
solid
will see a
pick.
Giants trade up for Jackson Dart later in this round.
That's your Cam Hayward replacement. Oh my God.
Yeah, I guess so.
Thank God it was not Shedeur Sanders. Whew. I thought it was. I thought it was 100%.
Is Cam Hayward retired? I thought he was still.
No, but he's gonna be retired soon. He's got like a year
I
left.
guess so.
And
I
plus,
think Harmon's more of a nose, no?
yeah, but their interior was still bad. It was still bad.
Yeah, but you hadn't. I think Harmon's a nose. So it would not be a. I don't think it'd be a replacement. guess he
I
played
will
both.
say, I would let if I'm in charge of the Cleveland Browns, knowing that Shedeur is not wanting to be a Cleveland Brown, I make the move up for Jackson Dart.
You don't need to make the
What
move
would've
up.
been
You can just
really
draft
cool
him in the second round.
Is
Oh,
If-
I try and get ahead of the Giants potentially moving on. That's the
I
thing.
think what would have been really cool is if they stuck and took Travis Hunter, then you could trade up to get Shedeur, and then you have a very good chemistry connection. But they traded out of
That's
that.
true.
Now, I think the Chargers here, if
Chargers felt like a lock for Colson Loveland, and he went way higher than.
I will say this,
Uh,
I think they could go
Yeah, I got it.
quarterback, and Will Johnson's a name, but obviously there might be something that we don't know.
My thing with the Chargers, D line to me was their by far top need, but they are flying
Yeah.
off the board.
Well, I had
So
them
I don't
taking,
think you're reaching.
I had them taking Kenneth Grant, and I think that would have been a great pick for them, but he's
Yeah.
obviously not available.
I think even Derek Harmon would have been a good pick for them, but he's gone. All four of the D linemen that were really worth first round picks are
Well,
gone. That's
you
the tough
also
thing.
need
here
a
for the
Joey
Chargers.
Bosa replacement on the edge.
That's true.
Right? Mac's still there, but who's your Bosa replacement? Could they look at it as Enrique here? Could they look at
As
James
Enrique would be a
Pierce
good
here?
pick because they do like Boston College guys.
Or maybe-
Zion Johnson, Boston College guard, so they could go to Ezerique.
True.
I think that'd be a
Yeah,
good pick for them.
I think in the meantime, you could give you could give a guy like Tipoloto just a year as a chance to prove his worth, and then you get the edge guy next year if that's a disaster.
Yeah, but do you really want to waste a year when your team is going to contend?
It still have Khalil Mack. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
That
but,
gives you
like,
a little bit of
How much
stability on
gas
the
does
other
Khalil Mack have left in the tank?
he was solid-
so
he was
yeah.
solid.
he
Unless
was
you're
solid
doubting
last year, but
Khalil, Mack.
How much is left?
I don't know.
Yeah,
It's-
unless
it's-
you're
it's
doubting
something to-
Khalil
just something to
Mack,
think
I
about.
don't-
That's all I'm saying.
I mean, last year I felt like they were going to cut both of them before the season to save cap, which in hindsight you probably should have. But now
Yeah,
it's
and
it's-
then
it's
then
not-
you really need your number one edge. But
yeah.
I
mean,
I don't know if
Khalil
it's
Mack
gonna
they
be
cut
an
and
edge.
signed.
I could see corner, even if it's not Will Johnson. Maybe there's another corner that goes here. Receiver
Yeah.
could be an option. I mean, Matthew Golden's still on the board
That would be a good pick for
He
them.
is still on the board.
They need a wide
Yeah,
receiver.
because because the Chargers they have solid receivers here, but
it's
you need
really
a guy
It's
that
really just
really has
Lad
upside
McConkey.
to take over.
It's really just Lad McConkey. That's their entire room.
Yeah, because Mike Williams is really just a 50-50 ball guy at this point. Quentin Johnston, he's had flashes, but do you trust him as a number 2? I don't
Flashes
know.
is, by
And
the
I
way,
don't
a
even
very
know if you trust.
generous description of
I
him.
think Ladd is better off if in the long term he's just
He's a
the
two.
number 2 slot guy and
Yeah,
you have someone to
100%
distract
I agree.
coverage from him
He's
on the
not
outside.
he's always going to be a slot guy, 100%. So I think you
Yeah.
need someone else.
Matthew Golden would be good here. So I'm going to predict that it's Golden
So,
because
Golden-
there's probably something wrong with Will Johnson.
yeah, you have to think so, right? You have to think that injuries are really concerning. Though for Golden,
If
he's
Johnson
also-
went here, I wouldn't be that shocked, but if Johnson went here, that's probably a sign that maybe maybe it was just other factors and it ends up being a steal, but yeah, we'll have to see.
Golden also kind of expected to be a slot coming in. At least I've seen some projections of that. And he could develop into a wide receiver.
You
one, but I
could
definitely think
do
where he's a slot.
you could go with Luther Burden instead if you think that's more of an outside presence.
Yeah, and there have been some rumors. I remember saying way earlier in the night before the draft of I think it was Trey Harris that could sneak into the first round. I'm not sure.
I heard
how
Jaden Higgins
possible that could
personally.
be at this point. It might have been Jaden Higgins.
Yes,
I
Jaden
remember
Higgins was the guy that
seeing
I
a few
saw.
guys that-
Yeah.
yeah, guys that could sneak
NFL
into the
Scout
first
on
round
Instagram,
and
they had
surprise
that.
me.
All right, Chargers are taking up quite a bit
Yeah,
of clock here.
Right now we're on. I won't say Shador watch. I think some broadcasts, ESPN
Yeah.
would say Shador watch. We will say QB2 watch. Right.
Yes.
Because
Yeah,
I don't think it's a
QB
lot
Jackson
for
Dart.
Shador, but I think you got to see a trade up for a QB on one of these rosters. I'd be shocked if it wasn't. Or I guess you could see a drafted one.
I mean, I'm not in
I'm
love
looking
with
at
a
the
lot of these
Rams.
QBs,
I'm
but
looking
it's
at the
such there's
Rams
so
of
many
Jackson
needs.
Dart.
I just find it.
I know
I
that-
think in this draft, it's been BPA that's won out over need, specifically when it comes to the quarterback market. Because when I look at it, there are so many teams that are desperate for QBs. They could take a chance on one of these guys, but when from just what I've seen of these quarterbacks behind Cam Ward, I don't really love what I see, and I'm sure that these NFL teams don't exactly love what they see either behind Cam Ward. So maybe they're thinking, okay, we can have a placeholder bridge quarterback for a year because these quarterbacks are just not the
Yeah.
guy. We're not going to waste
Uh,
picks, and you go in next year.
I know there are already some connections for like Arch Manning with the Browns already. They're
Yep.
thinking that
There's going to
Manning
be
the
some
Browns
teams
now,
tanking
You know,
this season for
It's-
a quarterback
it's
in next
very
year.
interesting.
Well, we'll see how
and-
Arch
and
Manning does, but yes.
Browns got even more gunpowder to put in that bullet to trade up if they.
I
make
don't
the
buy
first
the
round
Archie
pick.
Manning hype.
I don't necessarily buy it either.
All
But
right.
now we'll finally see him start for a year, and you can come up with those conclusions. I think it's hard to say you don't buy it. It's hard to say you buy it.
Yeah,
think
I mean,
he's
he
a
hasn't done
complete
anything.
Unknown, and we'll find out this season.
I will say while we're waiting for the Chargers pick here,
Did they miss
Fun
their picks?
fact
All right,
about
Will
it's
Campbell.
Okay.
Yeah, fun fact about Will Campbell though, he is from the same hometown as Bill Russell.
Bless you. man.
Line of Boston legends coming from Monroe, Louisiana.
He also said he would die trying to protect Drake May. So that's kind of the attitude I love out of my line.
Yeah. I'm liking this Will Campbell pick more and more for the Patriots here. I'm feeling
Is
good.
Bill Russell not from San Francisco?
Now let's have some
Why did he
fun.
go to?
He's originally from Louisiana.
What if
Okay,
the
maybe he
Chargers
moved it
pick
because-
Shador?
I know he went to high school in Oakland, and I know obviously he went to college.
Okay.
In San Francisco.
Do you really have that much of a bone to pick with Justin Herbert?
I actually like Herbert. I think
I
that's
love
everyone
Herbert.
else.
I love Herbert. I think Herbert's their guy. if anything, Herbert should
Maybe they just
request.
draft Shador to play in the playoffs, right, Connor?
Oh, I'm not drafting Shador here.
Oh,
But
no. I want
I'm
Shador
not
to fall out in
sold
the
on
first round.
Herbert either. I do wonder. Is one of the rumors that Hampton could? I know they're one of the teams rumored to want to trade up for, but it was one of the rumors around them. You signed Najee, but it's Najee Harris, right? You lost both J.K. Dobbins and Gus, I believe.
Yep.
So I think Hampton could be a fit.
Yeah, both of them are gone. But they did, in addition. Okay, yeah, it really is just Najee here in this backfield. So they probably do.
And Najee's
They probably do. They probably do take a running back at some point. I just don't know if
day
it's round.
two. Yeah, I think that's
Yeah, it's a
at this point, I want to
it's a
bring up.
deep
I would
running
just
back
D-line
class.
right now. It's very deep running back
Oh.
class. Except Cam Scatterbo, he sucks.
Pick
Wanna
is
see
in.
who it is? There you go. Amari and Hampton.
Amari and Hampton.
It's a good pick. I like
Wow.
that pick.
Wow.
I like
I
that
think
pick.
he's awesome.
It's not their
He's a round one
biggest
grade
need.
for me for sure.
He's a great running back.
It really,
Value. It's good value.
really reminds me of Bijan
Okay.
and Gibbs. Really reminds me of those two. With
Sort of overshadowed by the Gene T hype, but Omari and Hampton's a really talented player.
I think there were better options for them here potentially. Like I would say that Matthew Golden probably would have been the better pick in this situation.
Harbaugh loves to run the football. Harbaugh is a
Yeah, I know Harbaugh likes to run it. I think this will be a clear sort of 50-50 split this year between Najee and Hampton, and I can see Hampton slowly starting
Hampton
to
will edge
become.
away. Hampton will have the
Yeah.
majority of players by the end of the year.
It will open as a 50-50. It'll become a 64.
What's the Michigan kid? Donovan Edwards. He wasn't like a round 3 pick of Donovan Edwards for the Chargers. Because he loves his Michigan kids.
All right.
Yeah, I could.
Question.
That's why like Kenneth Grant would have been great.
Question. Do the Packers take their first wide receiver in the first round since like 2002? They have an option here.
I haven't taken.
Could I see it?
Off the board, but Gordon's
Yes.
more likely,
Could I see it? Yes. But what about Josh Simmons, maybe?
I think that's a
good
solid
pick.
option too.
Yeah.
Could
Because
be a trade.
they don't.
They definitely need some picks.
They have a good line as a collective. I think they lack an anchor to their line.
Yeah, they've had some
Simmons
injuries in the past few years, so they definitely could use a lineman infusion here. And Simmons is probably one of the guys you'd want to do that, I think, for your team, no?
Yeah, I go Simmons unless there's one of these receivers that you think can be a true clear-cut wide receiver one, because the Packers certainly have depth in their receiver room. The thing that they lack is that lead guy. If they think Matthew Golden can pull away from the
I don't know if
rest of
Matthew
this,
Golden is the guy that can like pull away that. I don't think any
No.
of these wide receivers.
I don't think he is. I don't know if there's any receiver on the board that could pull away from
No,
this
I
Packers
don't think
group,
there's
and
any
that's
that
what-
like stellar to me.
Yeah, that's what makes me hesitate to say receiver.
Packers may be bad at developing wide receivers that they can use draft in the second round.
Not necessarily, because they haven't invested that highly. And they
It's the
have
second round.
they have
Consistent.
solid they have solid
Is
production
Second
at
rounder,
the
is second rounders not an investment?
yeah, second rounders are investments, but are you really getting a true true number one receiver in the second round? I don't know.
I think the
I
wide
don't think
receivers
you
are
drafted-
good, but they don't have a
First 10
one.
picks of First, like,
They
10
don't,
picks in
no.
the second round 2 years ago, you got Musgrave and Reed, and then obviously you got Christian Watson very top of the second round before. I think pick 2 in the second round. You spent
They
a third on
believe
Amari Rodgers, like
That
Yeah,
Jaden
but
Reed
Connor,
was
there's a
going to
big
be a
difference between taking a wide receiver, in the first 15
is
picks.
it that much? Is it 23 versus
Some years, yes.
33? Matthew Golden versus Christian Walker, who most people thought would
Eventually,
be
they'll have
first
to.
anyway.
Eventually, some year they'll have to trade up and take a receiver. But we'll. I don't think.
Or just
that
spend
this
some
year
money on a
there
free agent receiver.
Yes, that might be it. I was thinking T. Higgins might go to Green Bay, but
Yeah, someone like that. I mean, he's locked in, but
yeah, now he's locked. We know that. But, I mean,
interesting
now.
in other sports news, the Thunder are getting blown out bad by the Memphis Grizzlies. Odd.
Wow.
Celtics title run.
But I figured
Back
I'd
on
point that out.
Hell yeah.
Just probably the worst
I mean, it was
I've
always
looked in 2 years.
Connor, is the
Celtics
Nuggets
title
is the
run.
Nuggets Clippers series the best first round series we've had in a while, or what?
No.
I don't know about best in a while, but it's definitely a very good one.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a good series. Two very solid teams, two amazing playoff performers.
Kawhi and
but,
Jokic.
I mean,
yeah.
I'm looking back to like the number 8 seeded Heat upsetting the number 1 seeded Milwaukee Bucks a couple years ago. I'm looking back to Cavs Magic from last year was electric. Knicks Sixers was a good one last year too. Mavs Clippers, another one that Kawhi got hurt, I guess the last round there. But Magic Cavs is one that immediately comes to mind from last year. Suns Lakers from a couple, as well as Clippers Mavericks from a couple years ago. So yeah, no, definitely not. But still been a really
Still have some
fun
games
series.
out.
Watching Zubac and
It's only been 2
watching
games.
Zubac and Jokic play has been a breath of fresh relief for the center.
There's no way the Packers can trade out of a pick when the draft is at Lambeau, right? Like they have to pick, right? You can't trade out of the first
Maybe.
round.
Rumors are they're in discussions with the Philadelphia Eagles, who would pick 23.
Really?
Not sure who that'd be for. I'd guess an edge rusher, whoever the Eagles.
Probably
was.
the Eagles like their edge
But
rushers,
that's-
right?
that's the- I mean, they just lost their best one, so you think you have to fill it. Getting down to the wire on a couple of these definitely slowed the draft.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
trade
made the
costs
call.
come
They
out,
said, hey,
late.
we got to get these commercials in.
I think it's more just, will you offer me enough that I consider trading out? And no team has yet, but you continue to work them to last second, like last second trade. Have you got it? No. All right, I'll pick.
Pick is in. Other
There you
news,
go.
John Morant is injured on the floor right now. So that's not good.
Yeah, if I were, I mean, I've said so much about maybe not necessarily needing the wide receiver, but I still mock them to pick the wide receiver. Right now, based on dropping, yeah, I think I'd pick Golden if I'm sticking. I don't know if I like that though. I'm not sure.
I don't
much
like
about-
Golden for them. I don't think it's a good fit.
You could go Josh Simmons, like I was saying.
Yeah, that's an option. That's for sure. Rappaport said long-term concerns about Will Johnson's knee. Rappaport's the only guy I have notifications on because he's not spoiling early because NFL probably told him he's not allowed. But he said long-term concerns considering Will Johnson's knee.
Okay, so yeah, that explains the free fall for sure. Which, yeah, I mean, I'm honestly surprised given that, though, that Barron wasn't considered earlier because a lot of these teams needed corners,
Well, I
and
think teams.
if Will Johnson is off the table, Barron is next up.
I think teams don't view Barron as an outside corner, which I think is fair. I think he's going to be fantastic in that slot/safety role. But I don't know if you need an outside corner, I'm not taking a non-outside corner.
Yeah, true.
Safeties and linebackers, obviously not prime positions, but Malachi Stokes is really good at football.
This
So
next tier of corners is going to be very interesting because Johnson probably joins that tier, but you also have Hairston, you also have Amos, you have
I mean,
guys like Siobhan Revel,
another slot guy.
yeah, Azariah Thomas, Benjamin Morrison, Porter. There's a few guys I'm personally high on, such as Jabbar Muhammad, but we'll have to see.
All right,
That's
we're
fun.
just talking a little bit about Packers and everything that Green Bay means to the NFL. The pick is in. Here we go.
A hometown team in this draft.
The only community-owned team in the
oh,
NFL, by the way.
Yeah, true.
Pretty cool. You could own it, Connor. You could buy a share.
You could buy one share.
It's like $10. That's a lot of money. It's like $10,000.
Yeah.
I mean, really, if they're doing community shares, they should just like run like a poll and like an exclusive like internet server with all their part owners and see who do you want to pick.
Just vote on it, yeah.
Yeah, community GM.
God. There you go. Only took Aaron
They
Rodgers
did it!
leaving.
It only took Aaron Rodgers
leaving.
complaining and leaving. There you go. I don't even love the pick, but I'm so excited they took a wide receiver. I'm
Matthew
so
Golden,
excited they
wow.
finally took a wide receiver.
Shocked it was not the next Jordan Love and they picked Shador. Honestly shocked.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can't really go wrong here, like with a receiver, because
They
they have
finally
been.
picked a wide receiver in the first round. So we will see if they're truly bad at developing wide receivers. As Connor said.
Yeah, Matthew Golden, here we are. 58 receptions, 987 yards, and 9 touchdowns last year at Texas.
Not bad. Not bad. Especially when Quinn Ewers is the quarterback.
Yeah. For sure. And
Go, Pack, go!
yeah, among Green Bay's top needs, I'm actually about to message my Packer fan friend and see his thoughts on the pick so we could potentially share them on the
Probably
show.
stoked to finally draft a wide receiver. I don't think any Packers fan is going to be upset about drafting a wide receiver in the first round.
Yeah, I don't think it's a perfect pick for them, but I think it's certainly a good pick.
Go, Pack, go! Go,
right.
Pack, go! Shedeur Sanders continues to fall. The Vikings pick is in. Connor, who do you think? We have not talked about the Vikings at all. Who do we like about the Vikings?
I had him taking Derek Harmon on that D line.
I had him taking Emin Rory, but now that Starks has fallen,
Yeah, Mountain.
I could definitely see a safety here.
Yeah.
Because Harrison Smith only has so long.
Harrison Smith is
That'd be an awesome
playing
pick.
his last year, for sure.
I think one of the edge rushers could make sense. Just adding to that defense.
Yeah, my top needs I have listed for the Vikings are corner, edge, and safety.
Yeah.
But given the state of the corner class right now, I don't think they go corner.
Yeah, I mean, they could always take, as you say, with any team at this point, you could take the risk on Will Johnson because he really is that talented.
Yeah, I think he is very talented. So
And they got that
I-
JJ
once again
McCarthy,
says-
Will Johnson connection, right?
Rappaport
Injury
says
all,
the Eagles are
Will
dead.
Johnson is a steal to any corner needy team at this point.
Assuming
would say
his
that.
knee isn't
Pretty-
destroyed.
I think
If it's really just he's gonna be out this year and play next year, fine.
Connor,
I
go
can
ahead.
afford if I'm
I was saying Rappaport ended up saying the Eagles are desperately trying to trade up,
For who?
which I'd assume an edge rusher.
They don't have
You
many
lost your
needs.
best edge rusher. You have a big glaring need at edge rusher.
I mean, they still have some options at edge. I know they need their lead guy, but you look
Morlo
at
Jomo, Jalix Hunt. Who's there?
you have Nolan Smith on one side, and it's really about the other on the, and then Bryce Huff is a rotational guy. But
But who are they
Huff's
trying
I don't
to
know. I think
jump?
they're
He's
Are they trying to jump Buffalo?
Aziz Ojulari. They signed Josh Uche. You Patriots fans know a lot about him.
He sucks.
I think there's peace between. I don't know. It could be an edge rusher by committee situation between Smith,
I would be
Huff,
amazed if it's not like Mike Green.
Ojulari. All right. Well, the pick is in for the Vikings.
There you go.
And Houston is definitely going offensive line, right?
Yeah, I think Houston. You're looking
I'm
at
not
interior line.
100% on.
Josh Simons, perfect for Houston. Perfect.
Like,
I
I'd be
could
shocked
see-
if it's not Donovan Jackson.
I could see Jihad Campbell there.
Could be.
Yeah,
would be
that- I
really
actually
shocked
had
if it was Jihad.
Trading up for him. Yeah, I don't know. I think the O line need for Houston is slightly overblown.
Jihad
It is a
Campbell, another
need.
guy with injury concerns, right? But should be fine, I think.
I mean, you have your placeholder left tackle in Cam Robinson. Yes, the inside has question marks, but you have some veterans that can mix in there between Lake and Tomlinson.
Yeah, but if you're trying to contend, you don't want to just have a makeshift offensive line protecting CJ Stroud.
Yeah.
Significant.
At the same time,
concerns on Jihad
you need
Campbell
your
for
defense
reasons.
looking sharp. Sorry, what were you saying?
The Giants are on the clock.
Oh, they traded with Houston?
Traded with Houston.
Wow. Okay, you know what? That doesn't shock me.
Shador.
Is it Dart or Sanders? Okay,
The report from my good friend Bryson Shaw.
Donovan Jackson. Connor.
Yeah,
Called it.
Interesting.
Not what I expected. No, I was saying that for Houston.
Oh, right. Oh,
I was saying that for Houston.
my bad.
A bit shocked. But probably the best interior guy left on the board. But it sounds like it's Shador slash Jeez, Doug.
It's that time.
Who-
I'm doing the little
which
Shador
one?
celebration.
Interesting. But yeah, Donovan Jackson for the Vikings here.
It's Shador.
I'm gonna say Dart. I'm gonna say Dart. Did you already see it, Shador?
No.
could be Dart.
I'm just saying it's Sanders' time.
I'm gonna say Dart.
But I don't hate the Donovan Jackson pick here for the Vikings, I'll say.
Didn't they lose their guard? Didn't they lose Ed Ingram?
Yeah, they lost Ed Ingram. Actually, funny enough, I was just talking about it. I was just talking about Ed Ingram because he is going to the Houston Texans.
To be fair, he stinks, so.
So, yeah.
Yeah, he had a really bad year, didn't
Yeah, but Donovan Jackson will probably slot in at left guard. They have Will Fries.
He's not been bad. He's not been bad for the Colts.
Yeah. I mean, he could be
By
left
the
guard.
way,
He's slotted in at right
this
guard.
pick,
on the
this
depth
pick will define Joe Shane's legacy tenure with the Giants.
The exchange is for $34.99 and a third rounder in 2026.
I mean,
I'm
that's
gonna say Dart. Michael's gonna say Shador. Do you wanna break the tie on your thought, Andrew, or another player? I guess.
I'm gonna say that I'm gonna say that I mean if the Giants are trading up, I'd say it's pretty clearly for a quarterback. But I'm gonna say that it's Jackson Dart. I think that if Shador's character issues weren't that big a concern, he would have already
Dart
gone.
is giving hugs. I hope you guys are right, by the way. I hope I'm wrong. I hope you're right. I'm rooting for Dart. I want it to be Dart.
Michael is a massive Shador Sanders hater.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep,
I will
No, I
say
am.
this.
And you know what, Connor? I own it.
He
I own it.
he pisses me off, but I do see that
He does piss me off. He pisses all of us off. I think we're collectively hoping
I hope
that
he
Shador
falls to
falls
the 4th round.
really. Yeah, I
won't
have.
fall to the 4th round.
He won't fall to the
No,
fourth
If
he'll
he
round.
doesn't go here, I could still see a team trading up if this is Dart. I could see a team trading up for either if the other one goes here.
It's true. I agree.
But I'm gonna guess Dart, and I'm gonna say the Saints are pissed that it's Dart, and I'm happy. about
Also,
that.
I've received.
This is also a pick on my Saints.
Connor's also like, yeah, if they don't get Dart, probably good.
The Saints are pissed because the Saints do not want Shador.
Shador
I'd
would
be
be a
very
mess
happy
in
if this-
New Orleans, bro. Be a mess down there.
Anyone would be a mess in New Orleans.
It's true.
Now, if okay, I'm talking way too far in the future. If it is Dart, is it Shador next, or is it the long rumored recent riser Tyler Schlau?
I'm not a fan of Tyler Shaw personally. I will say
What
that.
about Will Howard?
Right
What
now,
about
I
Kyle
mean-
McCord?
I don't think either of those guys.
Maybe Kyle McCord. I'll tell you right now, I like Kyle McCord better than I like Tyler Shaw. I do not see it with Tyler. But
I'm not a big fan of Schlau either. He's also wicked old. But
yeah,
in terms of talk from experts, they've said he's been a late riser.
I will say while we wait for this Giants pick, I have two messages that I've gotten in the last few minutes. One from my Packers fan friend. He is in love with the pick. Apparently, all 3 Packers fans he was watching with head over heels about Matthew Golden. And I also have someone messaging me praying that it is not Shador Sanders. So I think all NFL fans really right now are on the same page when it comes to Shador. Not a Giants fan. A Shador hater.
Okay.
Not
'Cause
me.
I know
Not me,
Giants
by the
fan
way. I
who
was
is-
not
Yeah.
just texting him.
Well, you're not alone. There's another Shador
Listen,
hater
bro,
in my
he's
message.
a hard guy to like. He makes himself
Exactly.
I know a Giants fan who
Exactly.
badly. I know a guy who badly wanted Shador at 3, and I'm like, I mean,
Yeah,
if you have
I
your opinion-
thought Shador was going to go early because I thought that the Browns were desperate enough for a quarterback. And if not the Browns, the Giants. But clearly,
Browns could still get him.
the lack of good quarterbacks is winning over the number of teams that need a quarterback.
I mean, this
And
is
that's
kind of
been the theme
similar
of the
to
night.
draft. I think very similar.
2022.
Yes, to kind of the.
It's 2022 if that draft class had, I don't know, if that draft class had, like, Trevor Lawrence in it for some reason, if he stayed till his senior year. Because Cam Ward,
Yeah, but Shador got his
Obviously.
fired, so he's obviously the best player in the draft.
You would say like Cam Ward, or sorry, you'd say Kenny Pickett would be your Jackson Dart, and then Malik Willis, who everyone's like 5 to the Lions, would be your
Yeah.
Shador
It's-
Sanders, right?
it's the 2022 draft class plus a clear number
With a
1
top
quarterback.
QB.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
agree with that.
With Ward off the board, it is the 2022 draft class, which tells me, if anything, from this draft class, if that's the case, you're not looking to draft a quarterback early, and the teams that do will probably regret it.
I think it is Dart. Just based on the
You're
reactions,
looking for the next Brock Purdy.
it looks like Dart.
Yeah, I could see that. But what I want to ask you guys is, do you think there's a Brock Purdy in this class? Because I think there could be between
I mean, it's
guys
so hard
like
to.
McCord, Will Howard, even Dylan Gabriel, perhaps.
Will Howard has a shot in this league.
I will say there's some interesting names that could go on day 3.
All right, here we
I'll
go.
put it that
One
way.
guy I kind of was shine on, it's Dylan Gabriel. I like the fit.
Yes, that's my big guy as well. Gabriel is my Brock Purdy.
Dart time! Let's go! Woo!
The door is free falling. It's Jackson Dart. Let's go. Let's go.
Spell on me.
The
Shador
Atlanta
Sanders
Falcons,
ain't been drafted.
The Atlanta Falcons are on the clock, trading pick 46 to 42 and a 2026 first round pick for 26 and 101.
It's not Shador. It's not Shador. That's all I care about.
I think we're overlooking the fact that a non-playoff team just gave up their next year's first round pick for pick 26, plus their second rounder this year.
That's insane. That is a good trade for the Texans.
Wasn't that
Rams.
Baltimore? Or are we talking about? Wait.
Rams. LA Rams.
Oh, good for the Rams.
The Rams, who were on the clock, traded their pick to the Falcons, got a first next year and a second this year. Don't know how.
Let's go. Shador Sanders is cooked.
Regarding Emeka Ibuka, the Bucks receivers coach, Brian McClendon, was the one who recruited him out of high school.
Let's go.
In other news, in the Clippers-Nuggets game, we won't be yelling fourth quarter, why is Batum in today? Because Batum has made 3 threes.
Let's
Yeah,
go.
This trade isn't.
Falcons here, you think...
Here come the
I still can't
trades.
get over how much... I still can't get over how much they gave up. I think it's Jahad Campbell would be my first guess.
First rounder in 2026.
First.
Yeah, I think it would be Jahad Campbell. That's the only guy that I could really see moving the needle for them by that much.
Dude, what? Yeah, I retweeted it too. Wow.
What?
That's like your second this year, moving down from what, 46 plus probably a pick that's worse than 26 next year.
Oh, I mean,
This is a big.
I just can't.
I don't know
can't
what
believe that.
what the hell.
Maybe they're taking their next Michael Penix and Shador, as you said before.
The Rams just committed highway robbery, and they're not used to picking in the first round. That's the fun part
What
of all
if the
this
Falcons
is like
pick
they
Sanders
know how to
away
find value.
Penix?
Yeah, that's absolute robbery by the Rams.
Oh, yeah.
I'm amazed.
The Rams,
It's
who were a team that said F them picks for how many years, just got so many picks.
Yeah, this is honestly a good move for the Rams because
Yeah.
they're a team that's not used to having a first. Now they're gonna have 2 next year.
And you could trade both for players and still say fuck those picks.
Yeah. What are the Falcons doing? Why would you give up so much?
There must be someone they really, really like.
Yeah, it's gotta be Jihad, right? I don't know if it's anyone else.
Jahad Campbell seems like the most feasible option here. I don't think it's for a receiver. I think Burden could have fallen.
No way it's for a receiver. You're biting on.
So I think it's.
on
What about an O lineman? But I mean, there's no one really.
It has
worth
to
trading
be a
up
big
for,
pick.
is
If
there?
you're giving up that much, you have to have someone in mind.
I mean, Josh Simmons, but I don't think you need a tackle.
Oh,
Because you
All right.
they go. Okay.
much. I mean, yeah, I guess you don't believe in Leonard Floyd. You don't believe in
Double-edged duo right here. Or other option, like I was saying, is you put Walker at inside linebacker and you put Pierce on the edge.
The question is, why would you give up so much?
Make him worse. That is the mistake that the Cowboys had with Micah first year, and they moved him to pure edge and he exploded, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But
at their best position.
Jalen Walker and Micah Parsons are
Say,
different
"Screw
players.
you, Leonard Floyd. I don't want you."
Fair. Didn't they
All right,
just
let me-
sign
was
it?
a good
Let me ask
football
you this: does Will Johnson go here to the Ravens?
No,
No, Will Johnson is
It's an
very
edge.
medically uncleared.
or a lineman.
Yeah, yeah. I think it would be intriguing, really intriguing, if you're the Ravens. Kyle Hamilton with Malachi Start.
That could be good too.
That could
In
be.
my
That could be.
uh,
I don't
like,
see a
just
safety.
now. Who is their safety? TJ Tampa.
You have our Darius
Not loving
Washington.
that.
Yeah, I don't love that, but is that their most glaring need? I don't think so, because Kyle Van Noy on the edge, I wouldn't really trust right now. So the edge is a clear need, and as we were talking about earlier, the Browns just took a D lineman, so maybe do you consider O line? Maybe a right tackle or a left guard.
Yeah, I mean, I think Simmons would be a fantastic pick here.
Yeah, Josh Simmons would be good.
Trey Amos is
Really
still on the
fill in
board.
as an immediate starter if he's healthy. I don't think Amos. I think you're waiting on cornerbacks just because no cornerbacks are really gone.
I'm shocked the Falcons
I-
gave up
I-
that much.
Yeah. See, the thing is, I like the Pierce pick in isolation, but with the trade in consideration,
Why
it's not
would
a
you
good
give
move.
up so much for him?
Like if they had the pick already and they just took Pierce, that would be great. But the trade just ruins the pick.
Yeah, I completely agree.
There's only 6 picks left tonight,
It's crazy.
which is kind of crazy. Yeah. And the Ravens up next.
And it kind of feels like we've had our moments. I mean, I don't know if we're going to have any other.
Hey, someone could still.
Unless somebody wants to move in for Shador. I sure hope not, but
Please, no, Shador. Please. He got his number retired, though. So, like, he's already the best player of all time. Ever.
if the Browns just take him in the second round, maybe.
I think you'd love to if you're the Browns, but I think it's also on other teams if you could get up to that point, right? Like,
I think I'm looking at the day-2 order here.
even if I'm Las Vegas, do I consider, right? Like just giving up an extra fourth. to move
Hey,
up to
Brady
last
loves
in
him.
the first round.
Brady loves Shador.
And the
Yeah,
big
I could
thing-
see it with Vegas. Vegas is one of the biggest QB needy teams here outside of the
The big
Browns.
thing with a first round pick is a 5th-year option,
Right.
which is huge on a quarterback. Even the Browns could give up like a 5th, a 6th to move up one pick just to get that 5th-year option if they're interested.
Yeah.
I think that's important to note on quarterback.
It could be 32. Yeah.
Like you could give it, you could say, hey, you want a free 6th-round pick, Philly? Okay, here, just give us 32 for this. I mean, Philly would be like, do we want to lose our 5th-year option on whoever we would take at 32? But it's one of those things where it's like, it's going to be the same guy no matter what.
Yeah.
You got a full day to think.
Yeah, because the Eagles are obviously not going quarterbacks, so it's whoever it's best non-quarterback available, probably.
And you could, again, as Connor said, you could get a free, like, 4th or 5th round pick for nothing, essentially.
Absolutely not.
But
Just losing a 5th-year option.
in the meantime,
Just losing a 5th
Ravens
year option
picked
on a
him.
player
He's
who
in. Yep.
you're not going to
He's
sign
in.
for a ton of money probably anyways. You're not going to pay him a crap load of money because it's not going to be a quarterback. And it's not going to be like a wide receiver. It's probably going to be like a edge rusher. So
Year after
All right,
year,
final-
the Falcons make baffling decisions.
yeah, there's
final predictions.
Troy Fontenot is suddenly becoming the worst GM drafting wise in the NFL.
I think it could be Ezra Ricker here.
That's who I mocked for the Ravens.
I had him to the Commanders, so if he doesn't go here, I would love to see that working out.
Yeah, I'm still sticking with Starks. I think that'd be a crazy pairing in the secondary. And will fill in just great to that cornerback core with Awuzie, Nate Wiggins, and Marlon Humphrey. Build a super squad out.
Yeah. And as we talked about earlier, I had Donovan Jackson here because I think interior O line is probably the bigger need than the outside, but they could consider Josh Simmons
Off
at
the
tackle.
board, right?
Yeah.
I
So
don't know
now it's like, do you look at Josh Simmons or do you say that's not really the right fit?
is Marcus Williams signed to a team? Because I'm thinking they could always bring back Marcus Williams, who was their starting
Yeah.
safety.
That's what I'm thinking. I don't think safety is as pressing as maybe it's made out to be for this Ravens team. They're set at corner. Wiggins, Awuzie, and Humphrey.
If I'm the Lions here, I'm saying screw the medicals. I'm taking the Michigan kid Will Johnson in a horrible secondary that badly needs.
Oh, I would love that pick for Detroit. I would love that. I think they could consider Campbell as well, though. Because they do need a linebacker. Even if I could see a possibility, I know he's been getting a lot of late first round buzz, and I know Campbell has been seen as the better player, but what about Carson Schweschinger from UCLA?
And there you go. Malachi Starks.
To the Baltimore Ravens.
Connor, what do you think? He might be frozen.
Yeah, I know he's all over it, though.
I know he's loving the pick. It is a very good pick. Malachi Starks, gotta love like the combination.
Yeah, I think there were probably, again, like I was saying, there were more glaring needs to fill. I would have preferred an edge. I would have preferred Simmons or Ezra-Raiku here, but at the end of the day, it's a solid pick.
Yeah,
to take Starks.
I mean, he's gonna match up pretty darn well, I think, in that secondary they got there. No.
I mean, yeah, he probably will pretty well. He slots in instead of Darius Washington. Just okay. This is my thing with the Ravens. They have built one of probably the better secondaries in the AFC North with this pick. Because now your 5 starters in the secondary are Starks, Kyle Hamilton, Marlon Humphrey, Jacoby Awuzie, and Nate Wiggins. That is something to get excited about.
That's scary. And the Detroit Lions, by the way, the pick is already in for them.
That was quick.
I wonder who it is.
On the clock. I think it's either Campbell or Johnson because these guys have been falling. The Lions are pouncing on one of those two.
Campbell or Johnson? I mean, yeah, I don't know if I'm so set on Johnson though. I feel like it's day 2 now. I don't think he's a day 1 guy.
Yeah. I mean, my original pick for the Lions was Maxwell Hairston. I wouldn't rule that out. So if they're going to go corner, it might not be Johnson. It might be Hairston instead. Kentucky kid. Had a great 2023. Kind of a step back in 2024, but still a great prospect.
Yeah. And I think Connor's back.
Right.
Connor, Malachi Starks.
All right, so
your guy.
Awesome fit.
By the way,
close to maybe the most.
Lions pick is already in, so they are very.
I would guess Will Campbell, but
yeah.
I think it's either I'm standing by. It's either Campbell or Johnson because otherwise they'd have more deliberation.
What I was gonna say before I unfortunately lagged out was Campbell does not seem like a position we need at all, in my opinion.
For Detroit,
first round pick on Jack Campbell, Alex Anzalone, who had some injury issues, but when he's healthy, he's really good at stop at the
I don't trust Derek Barnes. That's my thing.
I don't think you need to start
Derek
Derek
Barnes
Barnes. Like,
being
you got Campbell, Anzalone, Malcolm Rodriguez. If injuries come into play, sure, but
Malcolm Rodriguez. I don't know if I trust Rodriguez as a starter here. I think it's Anzalone, Campbell, and someone in this draft. That's really my take on this
fair.
linebacker core.
It was not an issue at all last year until Anzalone got hurt. Then it became an issue.
Well, and
Yeah,
the
but
rest of the
it
defense,
helped.
by the way, it wasn't just Anzalone; it was the entire defense.
Not nearly as big of an issue as their complete black hole at cornerback is.
That's
Yeah,
true.
and they did sign DJ. DJ Reed will help, but they still need somebody else.
Terry Arnold had an awful year. Once Carlton
Yeah,
Davis
Arnold
was
is not
just
good.
completely
Even
gone.
Robertson in the slot is not good.
Yeah, just yeah, it's tough. And I guess the slot you got Grant's slides in there a bit, but it feels like
Branch is more of a safety at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, their safeties are solid.
most
They have Branch and Kirby
last
Joseph.
year. He played more slot than safety last year, but I know it can switch
Yeah.
around.
He's listed as a safety on the current depth chart. That's what I see.
Yeah, I guess because I mean you just paid Kirby, but you had what's it, Tom Melifonwu, who played more safety last year.
What I wonder is if, like, where's their confidence on drafting corners? Because they did just spend that first rounder on Arnold, and they just signed DJ Reed in free agency, which maybe signals to me that they don't necessarily trust their draft
By the way,
evaluations
they
of
also
corners.
drafted Jeff Okuda like 6 years ago as well. So
Yeah, so clearly they do not have a good track record taking corners.
Traded a 3rd-round pick for Carlton Davis too. He sucks.
I mean, DJ
does
Reed, I
suck.
think, is a good sign.
He sucks. Where is he now?
He's
Someone
with
will
us.
sign him.
Connor, he's in New England.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you'll
Yeah.
Is he
Carlton
starting?
Davis.
I mean,
He's gonna
That's
get
the
burned.
problem.
But who else is
All right, here
Yeah,
come
he
the
will be
Lions.
starting. But you got Gonzo.
And the
You got
Lions
Gonzo. So
select
you're-
bad?
Tyleek Williams.
Tyreek Williams.
Another
What are
good
they
lineman.
doing?
This
I
is
don't know
one
about
of
that
the
one.
one of the most deep D lineman classes ever. I think you're down to say. I had Tyleek Williams as my D tackle 8. I had a 3rd-round grade on him under guys like Herman,
Yeah.
Roman Lott, Alfred Collins, but you can see the upside on Tyleek Williams.
This is my thing. I'm looking at the Lions depth chart. You have DJ Reader. He's the obvious nose here. Next to DJ Reader, you have Olin McNeil, who's also a very good player.
Incredible.
And then you also have Levi Onwuzurike,
Solid year.
who is another option off the bench. You don't need a D lineman unless you are planning a switch to a 3-4 full time.
I mean, Lynn McNeil had a incredible season and then got hurt for the rest of the season in like week 12, something like that.
Yeah, but you still have Onwuzurike behind him.
Sure, but he wasn't great. I just wonder if you're worried about
Health. Yeah.
health. Is
I
he
mean-
ready to come back at the beginning of the year? I'm not sure.
My thing, Connor, is if you were hesitant on a linebacker pick, I'd imagine you're hesitant on a D line pick for, I mean, the same reasons the whole defense got hurt. It should be healthy again next year. It doesn't appear to
Should be
me
healthy again.
it's glaring.
Like, I mean, like, Lynn McNeil had a season-ending injury. Is he ready for training camp?
That's maybe a consideration.
That's where I'm seeing it right now.
I don't think this is a need for the Lions. I don't.
Yeah, but with all the injuries they had last year, they have to be thinking about how do we better rotate our defensive linemen? How do we better keep our players healthy? How do we keep their snap counts?
So the first round pick on that, I don't know.
I mean, Tyleek Williams is a decent player. So I think the question for them more is how do we keep our team healthy defensively?
I mean, Tyleek Williams is a complete run stopper. He might only ever be a run stopper. There's potential to grow him.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's
And that's what Lynn McNeil's main job was. So my thought process in this is Lynn McNeil's not ready to start the season, and this is their starting run stop.
Yeah, but what's the vision long term here? Because if you have McNeil and Williams both healthy come next year, would you trade one of them?
I think.
I mean, you could.
Let me,
Yeah, that's a possibility. I just don't love
There's
using.
definitely a market for a Lee McNeil. I'll tell you that.
I mean,
You can
D
get
tackles
a guy
need
like
to
Williams.
rotate.
You can get a guy like Tyreek Williams on day 2. That's all. That's all. I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree with that. But D tackles need to rotate. Maybe you just once he's back, you don't view Levi Onwuzurike as a in rotation guy.
Yeah, that's
because
possible.
he was not a good replacement last year.
But I mean, you can give Reader some snaps off and bring on Muzurike in occasionally still.
Yeah, I think their idea is Levi Onwuzurike was bad when he started last year, and we can't go through time when he's playing significant minutes again.
I mean, I will say I've never been that much of an understander of Lions draft picks, and they have seemed to turn out well in recent years. So I'm not going to cast too much doubt, but it's not. It doesn't appear to the casual fan like the smart decision.
Now, the Commanders. Do we think
Linked
they
to
are going
every
edge?
rusher in the book, right?
Yeah.
I feel like they've been linked.
This
to
is
every
BC right here. This is
It's
BC.
got to be
I'd
Ezra.
love-
Yeah.
I'd
Has-
love,
Yeah.
I'd love it. That'd be a great pick.
If it's not him, it's Emin Wari, I would say.
Yeah, Mike Green could be one too. I'd just be really shocked if it wasn't. I think a guy who has been mentioned in Commanders talks more recently, who said, "Oh my God, he could jump into the first round." Femi Oladejo.
Oladejo,
I'm not sure
yeah.
how realistic that is, but that's a guy that's been.
I still don't think he goes over Green and Izareku. That's my
I
thing.
don't either. I just know he's been mentioned as one of those.
That was if Edges flew off the board. That's what I think the suspicion was maybe Edges would fly. I mean, Shamar Stewart has gone in this round, so yeah, that made me think Edges were going to start flying off the board, but clearly there's been a little bit of a holdup. So.
I mean,
I know
lot of
the ACC's bad, but it's hard to look over what Ezerike did last season.
Yeah, and same goes for Mike Green. I think production-wise, those two are far and away above Oladejo.
Past that, you got Buffalo. Buffalo, another team, take the risk on Johnson.
They need a quarterback.
Yeah,
too.
I would agree. However, could you go Luther Burden?
Okay, I could see. I don't know how desperate you are to get a wide receiver.
I think it's a similar situation to Green Bay. If they view the guy as a clear number one, they'll take him. And I think Green Bay making that Golden pick, I'll circle back on this and say I think they do view Golden as a true number one. I think that's why they took
him in the first round. They should.
Yeah, I mean the Bills added Josh Palmer, who's not great but not terrible. You're hoping your second round pick, Keon Coleman, can take a jump, and Shaquille's obviously your one right now.
Wow, Josh Connerly.
O-line
Interesting.
makes sense too. You got your pair of Laramie Tunsil, Josh Connolly.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
I'd much prefer Simmons, but
I mean, it's not
Josh Connerly. Well, Connerly was kind of in the same conversations as Simmons in draft buzz, I feel like.
And you can move Andrew
So,
Riley now shifts back to a guard, which I think is good. He played some with Robinson when Robinson was out last year. I know he played some tackle, and it just wasn't where you want him.
This again to me is a
Now that
good pick.
Robinson's gone.
Yeah. It's a good pick, but it's not the ideal pick. So I think, again, I've said this about a few picks in this draft. The Commanders will not regret this pick, but there are other directions they could have gone here that could have maximized it to an even greater
I
extent.
think that's a pretty cool set line. I don't know if Cosme's healthy to start the season. That's a question mark because he did tear
Probably
his
not.
ACL.
I mean, is he ever healthy?
Hansel, yeah, but he gave me a sense in Hansel, Cosme slash probably Herbig if you need to. Bayadads, into Wiley, into Connolly. That feels.
It's interesting that those
feels like a
former
really good line.
It feels
those
good,
former Chief
Connor.
guys last the enemy.
Protect that young quarterback.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Commanders are definitely if I'm a team in the NFC, the Commanders scare me next year.
Terrifying.
Have to.
Yeah, you definitely could see them being the team to come out of the NFC, especially with, Eagles won the Super Bowl but lost a lot of starters.
Get the Super Bowl
including their best
hangover.
edge rusher. Yeah, they're these teams, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, could make some sense. Are they your pick to make it out of the NFC? I think it's a decent shout to start the year.
It could.
I could see it. Yeah.
But then again, you have Jane Daniels' second year, sophomore slump. Like, what is that going to look like? So, all right, the Bills have about 4.5 minutes left to go. And then the Chiefs, and then the Eagles. And then we're done with the first round.
Yeah.
Shedeur Sanders only has 3 more options.
Gone fairly quick. Well, there could be a trade out.
There could be a trade.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
teams here. I mean, obviously, none of these teams are taking Shedeur, so it would be a trade if Shedeur goes.
yeah. No, it would have to be.
Yeah. Because these are all
I don't
teams
know,
with
man.
clear-cut
You could
franchise
get a
quarterbacks.
haul. You could get a haul for Pat Mahomes.
Playoff winners.
You could get a haul for Pat Mahomes.
Okay.
And Andy Reid's probably retiring soon. You could come bring in Prime as the coach. I don't know, man. I don't know.
I will
imagine,
say.
Can you imagine Coach Prime and Shedeur as Kansas City Chiefs?
When it comes to the Bills, I find this Tre'Davious White reunion very interesting. Like, I don't. Do we think that Tre'Davious White can get
No.
back to at least some of the level that he was at
He was
and
he
be
was cooked before.
Downright terrible last year. Downright
okay? So you still think corner is a glaring need for
I
this
still
Bills
think,
team?
I still think corner is a massive.
Corner is the
I think
most
you-
massive
you-
need they could have. And
take
that's
the
why
risk
I would
of
be
Will
okay with them taking a risk on Will Johnson because he's so good. And it could be a stellar pick. Obviously.
Brian Dable did announce that Russell Wilson will be the starter. I don't think that's too surprising.
Doesn't
but
shock
This
me.
is
Dart should
No,
not
not
start.
shocking.
Dart should not
Is it a
start.
season?
Yeah, he
is it
should.
half a season? Where's the point?
I feel like he should at least sit for like 10 weeks.
I say
Is it
sit
like
the
a
season.
bye week too?
Sit the season and start next year.
I would prefer him to sit the entire season.
What if you're already losing? You're already you're already eliminated from playoffs.
Okay, then maybe. But sit the bulk of the season.
Yeah.
I feel that.
I just don't
Yeah.
think he's ready. He has so much potential.
Yeah.
And you don't want to ruin that by, playing him.
So this
unnecessarily.
Bills pick is. Yeah, I feel that. This Bills pick is in. I feel like if they do go with Will Johnson, you probably default to Trey White for the first few weeks, and then whenever Johnson's good to go, he can take over.
I think another thing on Shedeur, although NFL evaluation wasn't there, the biggest name in evaluation had him his second overall in Mel Kiper. A surprising switch, as Mel Kiper usually gets those QB areas they get drafted pretty done well.
I mean, listen, for as much flack as we give Mel Kiper, he does have good insiders.
This is the thing with Shedeur, is I think he was either going to or he was free falling. Those were really the two
I
possibilities when
really
it comes.
thought he'd be a trade up right before. I thought he'd be a trade up. I didn't think the Steelers were necessarily going to take him, but I thought a team was going to be worried that the Steelers are going to take him. The Philadelphia Eagles are now on the clock. trade up, 2 picks. I'm gonna guess.
Oh.
one of it
You
has
mean
a-
one pick? One pick.
one. No, they're 32. They won the Super Bowl, Michael.
Yeah, but the Bills are picking
The
at third.
Bills, Chiefs, Eagles.
The Bills trade down.
The Bills trade down. There's a pick in between.
They're
Okay,
announcing
so
the
the
Bills
Bills are
pick right
trading.
now.
Oh,
Oh, huh. So maybe it is Chiefs and Eagles switching. Maxwell Hairston is a Buffalo Bill.
Maxwell Hairston,
I
cornerback.
mean, I
they
know a
needed
lot
it.
of first-round
Okay.
picks.
Good
I
pick.
had a lot of
That
first-round
really
picks.
tells you something about Will Johnson now.
Not
Yeah.
sure why the Eagles have to go up one spot here. I'd assume it's a defensive end. I'd be amazed if it's not. Chiefs, I would try to trade down one more if you can. Maybe the Browns will bite on Shador.
This is a weird trade. Why are they? I think the Eagles may if anything, this could be a block of a trade.
Yeah, I think you're thinking someone else could jump you to get the guy you want. And
Yeah.
you're securing it for a 6th-round pick. Who cares?
But who is that guy? I wonder. Because I know everyone's talking about edge. When I look at this Eagles team, they lose Gardner Johnson. I think safety stands out as a position of need.
Emin Worry.
Yeah, I think Evan Worry could be the pick.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I,
I think
mean,
they
there's
like-
such a big
I
gap
think they
between Starks and
really-
Evan Wari, though.
I think they really like.
I don't know about that.
They
I
like
think
Reed
they do
Blankenship.
really
man.
like Reed Blankenship.
It could also be Josh Simmons. Lane Johnson probably doesn't have that much more time in the league.
More to talk about Hairston. That's your first non-athlete cornerback off the board. If you count Barron.
Oh yeah, because Barron has that
outside
versatility.
board. Because
Yeah, I like the Hairston.
Yeah. he's
Yes,
been a big
down year
riser.
last year.
He'll be better than Kyer
I-
Alam, I'll tell you that.
I do think it's going to be major medical issues with Will Johnson, though. I do like Hairston, but I loved Will Johnson.
Yeah, I mean Hairston, I'd say was a first round worthy player. I will say that. It's just I thought Johnson was too, and clearly,
I thought Johnson was like a top 15 lock pick. So
yeah, clearly Johnson. There's concerns.
The Grizzlies' 3-point lead is now down to a 13-point lead.
well, I mean, Ja was ruled out of the game, so
yeah, but still big lead to blow. You know, Ja's not even your best player. Can't happen.
all right, the Eagles pick is in. Wait, did the Titans trade with the Browns? How did the Browns have the 33rd overall pick?
Last year.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure. A part of, I guess. No. No. That's the Browns pick. 36 was the trade down. That's the Browns pick. It's tied records.
oh.
Yeah, Browns have the first pick of the second round, and then
The trade last year was the Texans pick. 30.
My dream is about to come true, assuming that the Chiefs do not trade out of this first round. It's gonna be glorious. Glorious, glorious.
Yeah, I think the Chiefs could stick and pick an edge.
Be so
I
fun.
think the guy the Chiefs I've heard are most connected to is Ursay, the tackle out of Minnesota. But
Or
Josh Simmons is
it
falling.
could be Simmons if he falls.
Maybe, but you badly need a tackle.
Unless Simmons also has injury concerns the same way Johnson does.
He was out last year, but I don't think it should be a long term.
Yeah, I think Simmons could go with one of these last two picks, whether it's Philly or KC.
if I'm KC, I'm looking to collect another pick and see if a team in the second wants to even just give me like a 5th rounder to get up and get Shador. You know, he could turn into nothing, then you just decline the 5th-year option.
Yeah.
Or Sidor could be that guy.
Yeah, I mean, the potential's there. Just, you know, work on that footwork heavily.
And that
Get
ego.
that attitude right.
In that
We're talking about Shador way too much for a guy that could be such a big bust.
I mean, is he a bust if he didn't go in the first round?
That's a good point.
If
Yeah,
he
maybe not.
played, then you'd be talking about it. But second-round quarterbacks would really ease the high end.
Second round quarterback.
That's
I'm
fair.
just trying to look for
Yeah,
someone. who
Hey,
could-
that's right. The last second round quarterback I remember that really stands out to me as great is Jalen Hurts.
Was Russell Wilson a 3rd round guy?
Russ was it.
Hurts was more recent. So
I'm trying to think of late round guys. Like
Yeah.
there's obviously
Yeah.
Purdy.
Purdy, yeah, that's the big one. A few years back.
Jordan
Cousins.
Love, no, he was late first round.
I mean, there was a time when we all thought Gardner Minshew would be that guy.
Well, I don't know about all
A lot of fans did.
of us.
I that bought it.
Al Trask was a more recent second rounder. Drew
Yeah.
Lock was a second rounder. Was Lamar? No, Lamar was.
No, Lamar was
last
32.
first round. Yeah, the trade up. Can't really think of anyone else. Jacoby Brissett was he, or Jimmy G was? Jimmy G was. a
Jimmy G.
second rounder.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jimmy. Yeah, Jalen Hurts is the most notable recent.
Yeah, definitely by far the most recent.
And probably the most successful too.
That's what I'm talking about.
But bad history there, other than him, I feel like.
Yeah.
Can we get to this pick already?
Connor, they gotta get the
Yeah,
Marshall-
he's not necessarily going to be like it depends on the class. There's some years where there's 4 or 5 good quarterbacks in a class that are going to stay around a while. But this strikes me as a class that might only be one good quarter. I think it'll be one. I think Cam Ward is good to go, and then I think one other will surprise and stick around. I don't know who that one is, but I don't know if it'll be Dart.
As long as it's not Shador, I'm good.
I think it's still engaged.
I still cannot believe the Falcons gave up that much for Pierce.
Have we not learned by now the Falcons do not know what they're doing on draft day?
Yeah. Nowhere.
They are the laughing stock of the NFL draft. I'll tell you right now. They've had some of the lows of all lows on this draft stream in its history.
For sure.
We remember
And
that
it's
from
last year.
right, Connor? We remember that from last
I can think of.
Panics you had the.
I'm trying to go back into my draft grades historically for the
I
Falcons
mean,
here
Kyle
because
Pitts over guys like Jamar Chase.
yeah.
What are we doing here?
Okay,
Kyle
so they
Trask
took
came
Bijan
in
in 23, which was solid, but
All right, there's
Um,
Campbell.
Jahad Campbell. Okay.
They don't get the fit. Bond just had it.
I gotta think about this
for
one.
You
years
just
as a
got
center.
you just paid Bond too. It's not like you didn't
Yeah,
resign.
you just paid him as you're saying. N'Kobe Dean.
Yeah.
you're giving up on N'Kobe Dean.
But
Kobe
was
Dean is
good.
injured. Kobe Dean is injured, so that could be a factor here. And I think Campbell is a player. He is one of the best on the board right
I
now.
think N'Kobe Dean was
I-
fine.
I get it to an extent. I get it. I don't like it. That's where I'm.
Like Vic Fangio really liked Nakobe Dean.
All right, Chiefs
He had a
pick is in.
fantastic season.
Shador Sanders is not
And
going in the
Owen
first
Burks-
round.
Did
All right,
Owen
the
Burks
Chiefs, I think
leave? Okay, he went to
this
Cincinnati,
is either-
so I guess he's depth.
this is either tackle or edge. Either Josh Simmons or Izaraiku.
I think it's interesting to say, Andrew, you had Shador going 2 to the Browns, and he's here at 32 for the Browns to take.
I think the Browns could still take him. Yeah, I the thing when it comes to Shador, I was saying in my mock draft, he's either going at 2 or he's free falling. So the Browns could come around and still get him. I don't have doubts about that. I think they really do need a quarterback, and I think it was good that they didn't get desperate because now maybe they have the guy that they were going to take all along falling into their laps. They have 2 chances for it too.
I mean, I guess, but
Is it the right pick? Maybe not, but like
I guess
they
I
need a
mean,
quarterback.
I would take Shador in the
Make
second
a
round. I mean, why not?
It's just fun. It's just funny to me.
Yeah,
just shocking,
I think
really.
You have to make a representative effort to address the quarterback position, even if you don't fully believe in a quarterback here.
Regardless of your belief of Shador, he sells. He
Yeah.
sells.
Yes.
And I
Again,
think
cash
Shador
cow. We were
sells
saying it with the Giants.
Connor, I'm with you. I think. Listen, I think.
Not in the first round.
I
Second
think,
round, sure.
I think he should be drafted by the Browns. Absolutely. They need a quarterback.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
don't know
it can't be worse than Deshaun
They
Watson.
really, it's their top need. It's their top need. Deshaun Watson
one
is
team I hate
terrible,
to fit for, it is
terrible
Cleveland.
press.
Sorry.
We're letting the money guy go to Cleveland. What are we doing here? You need to sell seats in Cleveland? No, you don't. You need to sell a product that won't put bags over people's. The one spot, the one spot that it's like, oh, not the big name, big city, like Cleveland. I'd rather him go to Tennessee.
Well, Browns are officially on the clock. It won't happen tonight, but the Chiefs pick is in here. So
Yeah, I'm sure we'll know who the Browns pick is. Pretty
before 7
Yeah.
p.m. Yeah.
well before.
All right. While the Chiefs get ready for their pick, guys, why don't you give me your thoughts on the first round? Overall thoughts. Andrew, why don't you go first?
I'll start just with my best pick and worst pick here, and then we can get into some overall analysis. I think best pick. I mean, the obvious one that stands out to me. I'll do an obvious one and a sleeper here. Cam Ward, I think, was a home run pick for the Titans. They needed a quarterback. They got their guy. That's great. Little bit of a sleeper. Strong pick for me. I love J.J. Barron to the Broncos. I think that is a great fit. He can fill in a bit at safety, fill in a bit at slot corner. I think that is a great pick for Denver. Worst pick of the round for me has to go to Shamar Stewart in Cincinnati. I just don't get it with Shamar Stewart. He's had no more than 1.5 sacks each of his 3 years in college. He has not been producing. This guy is at Texas A&M. He's surrounded by good players. He's surrounded by good coaching. He cannot get the job done. And it's all potential here. There's no factual evidence to prove that he is going to be a good NFL player. And this is a contending team in the Bengals. They're trying to contend. This is not a win now move for the defense. You need to make this defense better today, not tomorrow. So that stands out to me as a poor pick. Overall, I think this first round, it was more predictable than I expected it to be, but it was still unpredictable. And I think there were a lot of good moves here, but at the end of the day, there was a clear maybe top 10 to 15. After that, everybody's boards is so different. So we've seen a lot of wild card picks here, but I don't know that I even hate a lot.
The final pick, the Chiefs select Josh Simons. Really good pick for the Chiefs. Probably got one of the better offensive tackles in the draft.
I mean,
That might be one of the better picks of the round.
It's really just about his rehab, but fantastic. My favorite tackle in the
That's a home run pick. That now becomes my favorite pick of the round.
Wow. Just like that.
That might be my favorite.
Just like that, yeah.
To me, there's three that stick out. That pick, Josh Simmons, right there. He's my favorite tackle in the draft. Obviously, the rehab is probably you may not have him to start the year, but I think he's phenomenal. Malachi Starks, another one that sticks out. Just can you imagine two of the best college football safeties?
Yep.
That was
Ravens
in a long
secondary
time.
is scary.
It's so scary. And those are two fantastic players. Starks can easily slide in with the slot as well. If Marlon takes more outside reps, he's so versatile. I think it's a great pick. My last one is going to be Mason Graham. He's my number one player in the draft, and the Browns, who probably could have taken him at 2. I know Travis Hunter talk is all there. Got some extra picks and still got what I think is the best player in the draft and an awesome fit next to Myles Garrett. Which I added a first and a second, and got who I think is the best player in the draft. Least favorite picks, Taylor Warren sticks out, of course.
I know your thoughts on Warren. I loved that pick.
Hate watch him and Daniel Jones. What a combo! I also just didn't like the Tyler Booker pick. I think offensive line is important. Dallas added no one in free agency. Dallas
Again
added nothing to the team, and there are so many bigger holes, I think, than your weak side, your strong side guard. Weak side guard is already filled, so your strong side guard. That's a word for me.
I'm kind of perusing through here. Best players headed into day 2, I think. Shador sticks out at this point as much as I hate on him.
I agree.
Luther Burden and Jaden Higgins probably stick out as receiver options.
I would love for the Patriots
like
to get Burden in the second round. That would be absolutely spectacular.
Yeah.
If we could nab him in the second round, that'd be awesome.
Izaraiku and Mike Green are great second round. Actually, I would love for the Patriots to take one of Izaraiku or Mike Green. If you can get the BC guy in New England, that would be. I would love that pick so much. Edge is my top priority,
especially because he's a good player.
And he's a great player, and it fills the need. Yeah, I love Carson Schweschinger as well. I think he goes early day 2, and then Will Johnson obviously at corner, and Nick Emenwari at safety will probably be early day 2 picks as well.
It was a very interesting first round in the fact that there were a lot of teams that made, I think, good picks. I think the majority of teams, like if you look at their pick, like you go through and you say, like, oh, that's a good pick. Like that's not like you go through pick by pick, like Raiders, GT, like that's a good pick. Jets, Bamboo, that's a good pick.
Except for the Bengals.
Like you go pick by pick.
Bengals is the only one.
You go pick by pick, and even the ones I don't love, like I don't love the Loveland pick for the Bears. It's still a good pick. There are very few picks I would say that I thought were poor. The Shamar Stewart one was poor, as you guys mentioned. Tyler Booker. I personally thought, obviously we've talked about it. The Falcons traded back up to get Pierce. Was probably my least favorite moment of the round. I like the Giants going and get Dart. I mean, the Giants now having Dart and Carter in this draft was very good. I thought the Golden pick was good. I think underrated, this Omari and Hampton pick. We didn't really give it enough flowers, but that pick and the Barron pick were both very, very good. Obviously, the Malachi Starks pick.
I don't love the Loveland.
And then the Maxwell Harrison pick. I mean, that's a good one too. Overall, I'd say the majority of teams probably leave tonight having a B or B plus draft so far. There are a few A picks, and there were a few, D minus picks.
D. My only D plus or below is Shamar Stewart. So
we didn't quite get the fireworks we were expecting, but at the same time, Connor, I think most teams are satisfied. Like I know as a Patriots fan, I'm very satisfied with Will Campbell and the ability to get a Luther Burden tomorrow. Like that's awesome. And I know you probably feel great about Egbuka. I mean, that wide receiver was going to be awesome, and there's still players left on the board for you to get as well.
Yeah, knowing how much some of these defensive positions has fallen, cornerback, edge rusher, those top things you're thinking as a Bucks fan, we need those guys. Seeing them fall as they did,
They're available.
You feel great about your pick. You know,
Yeah.
you obviously have
As much as I want a receiver on the Pats, I would actually prefer to go with one of the big name edges on day 2. I think those are the guys that stand out. But the great thing about this draft class and the great thing about having a high day 2 pick in this draft class is there are your top 10 to 15 guys. And then I think there's around 30 that were potential first round picks. Some of them make it to day 2. And that, I think, really puts teams that have top 10 to 15 picks in each round at a huge advantage in this draft class because the drop-offs are in the perfect fit for them to have great drafts.
I
hell,
think
I got two top 15 guys. On my
This is a great draft for parity in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're the Patriots, you gotta love where you're sitting going into tomorrow. I mean, this is.
Yeah, you could.
Oh.
Sanders.
Yes, but like sitting at
You
6,
just have so many options on the table.
I would hope that I would hope that I would hope that Luther Burden is available at 38. I mean, obviously there's a chance he isn't. The Browns obviously have 2 picks. The Titans, Texans, and
you
Raiders.
gotta trade.
I am still edge rusher over receiver, but I mean, if I understand the hope for Burden. I just think you have Diggs as your one for now. You can wait until maybe round 3 for a receiver. Especially, you don't have Harold Landry is not leading this edge rush to the promised land.
Dude, like this was a good first round. It wasn't as crazy as I think we all thought it would be. I thought we'd see more fireworks. It was much calmer than I thought, and it went fairly quickly. I mean, we're done well before midnight.
I'm not complaining about a fast draft.
No, I'm
Any
all
means.
for faster drafts. I think that there's such a thing as too fast, but tonight was definitely not that.
Easily has to be our fastest yet.
I mean, how long?
For night one, yeah.
How long have we been going?
I mean, I don't think any of them have. I don't think any of them have gone into midnight. That we've done.
Okay. I got a YouTube error health buffer, so that's great. Towards the end of the stream. Yeah, I mean we're 3 hours 21 minutes in. We started probably half an hour late, so 3:50 is pretty damn good, especially since the draft has been over for about 5 to 10 minutes already. So very nice, very tidy. I know there probably isn't anyone still listening, still watching, but if you are, thank you for staying with us, sticking with us throughout those technical difficulties. We'll have it better next year for sure. We won't be streaming the draft tomorrow through rounds 2 and 3 because A, I'm tired, and B, I don't think you want to see this sort of mishmash again, but it was a lot of fun, and obviously we'll be back next year. We love it so much. Connor, Andrew, thank you for joining me here tonight. It's always a pleasure to have such great, esteemed, knowledgeable guests who put the work in. I don't pay them because I don't make any money from this. If I did, I would. I just want to put that out there, but I don't, and so they do this for free. They do this because they love the game, and I sincerely appreciate that. So it's always a lot of fun sharing the screen with these two guys and talking football. It was a great draft. I mean, there's still so much to go. I would like to say congratulations to all the players who got drafted tonight. A huge accomplishment to be drafted in the first round of the NFL draft, regardless of whatever we said about you. That's amazing. Like, that is a life goal, life accomplishment. Yeah. That is something that every little kid dreams about when they're playing Pop Warner football. first round draft.
I'll
picks.
give Shar Stewart his flowers. Congrats on being drafted in the first one.
Yeah, I mean, it's a special night, and I just wanted to say that to everyone.
Congrats on the paycheck if you don't work out.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, in the worst case scenario, you just made millions of dollars, even if you stink. So, yeah. So, folks, thank you all for listening. Connor, obviously, thank you for all the tech stuff. Even though it didn't work out, he still put the work in and obviously helped me out a ton with setting up the stream that we have now as we do it. So there's obviously a lot of work that he puts in, and unfortunately, he didn't get to show it off too much tonight. But next year, it will be bigger, it will be better, and it will be.
Wrote a whole Python script for this top 5 always running. Unlucky.
It's a shame. Hey, next year, Connor, next year. Folks, thank you all for listening to another episode of the Master Plan, another show. It almost breaks my heart. Another draft stream, another year complete. But that's the way it is. We'll be back next year for number 7. And with that, I get to shut off the stream this year because I'm controlling it all. Have an amazing night, and I hope you enjoyed watching, and I hope you enjoy continuing to watch in the coming days.